GameSpot.
Nope, that's not what I was talking about. Okay, we'll figure out later.
Yeah, with the right. I did. Yeah, it's Giant Bombcast 868. There we go.
Okay, thank you.
Fade to black. All right, you'll hear the music in 5, 4, 3.
Hey everyone, it is Tuesday the 26th of November 2024. I am your host, Timu Jan Bomb, and I am joined as always by Jeff Grubby Grub back from Disneyland.
Yeah.
How are you doing, Jeff?
I have returned. I knew he was going to correct you. I knew he was going to be able to help himself. Yeah, no, I'm back. Happy to be here. Happy to be hanging out with you, Tam.
Wonderful. We're also joined by Sean. What did I say wrong that needed connected?
It was Disney World because he went to Florida.
Yeah, Disney, not Disneyland. Disney
Who fucking cares?
I knew you wouldn't, which is why I didn't say anything.
It's Walt Disney World.
Listen,
even more
all the Disneys. I'm just gonna
shit.
say this. I'm probably gonna get cancelled. All the Disneys look the same to me.
Whoa!
That's what I'm saying. Okay, that is all I'm saying.
That's true.
I think if anyone was real and admitted it, I think they wouldn't. People know deep down that all Disneys look the same.
God.
Okay. Sean is also here, aka Turbo Sean, the turboist of Sean's. How you doing,
That's
Sean?
right. Where's my hog, Tam? They took my hog away from me. I need to be riding right now in the middle of bumfuck nowhere, Oregon. Where is my hog?
Of course, we're talking about Days, Sean. That's right, isn't it?
Yeah, that was an experience last week.
The hit Giant Bomb video games Let's Play series featuring Sean playing perhaps one of the most boring games of all time.
It's aggressively like 7 out of 10 at best is how I would put it. It got okay gameplay wise. The story was just
I feel like
we'll get into that a little bit later, but
yeah, we'll get into it. I'm being unfair to it. It's perfectly fine. If you're into Days Gone, good for you. I know maybe seek help, but
more
also,
power to you.
Yeah, more power to you. We're also joined by Mitch Minotti. How are you doing, Mitchie?
Oh, I woke up pretty dizzy today, and I feel a little nauseous right now, but that's all right.
No.
That's
no.
okay.
What did you do last night?
I recorded a podcast about an obscure Beauty and the Beast Christmas-themed direct-to-video sequel.
Yeah, so what you're saying is like the feeling you have right now is your body eating itself to prevent you from doing this kind of absolute incel shit.
The revolt may find it. Okay, wait, now look, you can call it a lot of things. You can call it incel, I think, is a bit unfair.
Yeah, I'll have you know, the other Minottis are very much happy family men.
Yes, exactly. True. And they enable me.
As always, this episode is, I don't know if we still have to say this, but we're powered by NZXT. Let's fucking go. I'm still powered by NZXT.
Oh, yeah, half of you guys are.
Yeah.
Yeah, half of us are powered by NZXT. If you're not powered by NZXT, get over yourself.
Yeah.
Get a grip.
My RAM is dying, Tam.
To be fair, so is mine. I recently purchased the new Mac Mini. Which is the first time I've ever purchased a Mac computer.
Yeah, my Mac Air, what are they called? MacBook Air. Yeah. I just bought that last year, and that was the first time I ever bought an Apple, and it's fine. They work fine. Like I would never have it be my main computer for gaming, obviously, but it's fine.
This new MacBook, Mac Mini, Mac Mini M4 chip is very, very affordable, relatively speaking, very powerful. And I don't know if you've watched the videos on it. It is an absolute beast for emulation.
Yes.
Like,
people are buying it definitely
purely for emulation, and it is rocking. So I'm very excited to. My week is going to involve like redoing my entire setup.
Yeah, is it like are you gonna just like put RetroArch on it, or you?
I don't know. I think I'm going to use it as an actual computer instead of like loading it up with games. And I'm doing that primarily because I bought it because like the footprint on it is so small, it's crazy, and I know that by incorporating it into my setup, I like will free up so much desk space. It's going to be crazy.
Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah, and
it's also just small. It's quiet. It's cool. Like,
exactly.
This room heats up, especially in the summer, because of how much heat that my computer puts off. So the idea of just like this little thing that can like get the work done, not like every workload as well as what I have necessarily, but close enough to it, and kind of just like fits below my monitor. That's really cool.
Yeah, that's what I'm excited about, because right now I'm running off a Razer laptop, which has been very good, but it's just a lot of like space that is being taken up. And also like if I can free this Razer laptop, I can use it for like gaming in other places, you know. The only concern I have is whether my like Elgato stuff will work on a Mac Mini, like via like my Cam Link and stuff like that. Because
I'd assume they have software there, because streaming on Mac has become like popular enough.
Exactly.
That, like, you know, because creators will just stream from their MacBook that they also use for like work stuff. So I'd assume that.
Yeah, I mean, there might be some quirks with Elgato software, but it should all still mostly function. Sean, you mentioned the computer heating up your room. Like I remember, like I don't remember where I read this, so maybe it's not exactly accurate. But they're like a space heater and a computer use about the same amount of energy and put off about the same amount of heat. So it's like instead of getting a space heater, just get a good computer, and now you have both things in your room there. So.
Oh yeah, it sure feels like it.
There was also this thing a while back, which I'm not sure if it was a misnomer or something, but apparently like turning a computer on takes more power than just leaving it on the entire day. Or this was a while back, people used to say that, and I was like, because the juice required to actually get everything going.
Yeah, people say that about cars and stuff, right? Where it's like, starting the car uses up more gas than just letting it run idle there.
It sounds just like an excuse to enable you freaks who like to just keep your computer on at all times.
I mean, that's why I primarily did it, because I was like,
can't believe how judgmental you are of my people, Mike Minotti. You're
also
alone.
way weirder as someone who works at home. You're way weirder for like turning your computer off.
Yeah, that's a freak move right there. Is I'm gonna walk away from my computer, better turn it off. What are you?
Look,
a 45-year-old accountant.
That's a grandpa move.
Yeah.
Like a sleep mode. I do a sleep mode.
Yeah, what is
okay, that's different. That's different now.
All right, so what is the amount of time you need to be away from your computer for you to be like, I'm turning this off?
It's a long time.
Because mine, I only ever turn mine off if I'm leaving home for at least 2 to 3 days.
I think Jeff's been on entire vacations where he hasn't turned it off.
Yeah, because I remote into it every once in a while.
Same reason here. I at least leave it in sleep mode. On my local network, the mini PC, or like the micro PC at this point that I use for my NAS setup, can wake on LAN my main machine. So I at least leave my main machine in sleep. I never turn it off unless I don't think I've ever turned this one off. Unless I'm swapping parts out or whatever.
Like a lot of stuff on my computer kind of ends up being, it's like acting as a server in a lot of ways. So
exactly, yeah.
I leave it on, and I guess this last one, I think I put it at least in sleep mode, so it's not like I'm like letting it run fully up and just using as much power as possible. But
we have a reason for leaving them on. We're not just freaks who like to like drain the power. And
yeah. There's occasionally just like I need to get something on that computer in that folder that I know is there, and I wish I could do that. It's like, I can, because I can remote into it. When you guys do want to like put it in sleep mode, what do you do? Because I've been doing the Windows X, then you hit U, and then you hit, is it D? I think it's that,
What?
Windows
no, there's
X up, down, and then
so
input
if you hit the Windows
Konami code.
Hit Windows key X on there, and then it gives you you hit U to get the shutdown option, and I'm not gonna do it now because it'll shut down the computer in the middle of the show. And then so I just hit Windows X as the shortcut to bring up like that fast menu, and then U, and then D, I think, and that just shuts it down.
I may go to the Windows button, right click, shut down, or sign out, sleep.
Okay.
Look at that. I just clicked left click the button, then there's that little power button, and I click that, and it gives me the options.
Okay, yeah, that's probably the same options, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the reason that I like keyboard shortcuts is especially this is one of the things I talk about where like PC gaming, like on a TV is easier than ever. Because with Steam, you can do the Steam chords, they call it, where you hold the home button and then you do different button combos and like analog stick stuff to control your mouse and stuff. So I can control my computer entirely with an Xbox controller. I just like, if I hold the Xbox button, I can then move the mouse down over to the Windows button, put it open, and then use the D-pad to just navigate Windows and put my computer in sleep. So I'm just used to using the menus like that. It's really nice.
I just yank the power cord out every time.
That works
like
too.
bang.
Yeah.
Get out of here.
Oh, shut it down. That's for damn sure.
Assert your dominance over the PC, though, or else the machines will take over. Yeah.
You are right though. Like playing games on. I have my old gaming PC set up to my TV in case I want to play like any like low tier games or like not too high like power hog games or graphic hog games, and running Steam Deck on there, I just have it like boot straight into Steam Deck. It's so nice.
Yeah,
it's so
the big
good.
picture mode.
Yeah, exactly.
I have
the Steam Deck
one
big
of those
picture.
Atari VCSs that they're discontinuing, sitting in the back room. I'm going to put SteamOS on that thing. That sounds like a really fun project.
Because that's just a mini PC.
It's a mini PC, so I'm going to do that. That's going to be a project here in the next couple of weeks.
Oh, you know what? I recently a problem I finally overcame. The problem with big picture mode, or I think it might be more of a Windows problem than a big picture mode. I feel like Bluetooth controllers suck on it, like really bad.
Yeah, Bluetooth controllers just in general aren't great.
I've like got the official like Microsoft dongle and the Elite 2 and all that kind of stuff, and it's not very good for me. Like I don't know what it is, and I know that Lucy also has this issue where we can't like consistently stay connected. It like disconnects every like 10 or 11 minutes, something like that.
Oh, that's frustrating.
And I fucking hate it, and the only way to get around it is like to wire in, at which point I'm just like, what's even the point?
The dongle's a 2.4 gigahertz connection, so I wonder if there's just too many connections in your area.
However, I recently purchased let me get the exact name of the product. The 8-bit do controller. The
Ultimate?
The Ultimate, I believe. I got that.
I think that might be like my default controller going forward. I love it. I use it right here on the dock on my PC. Yeah. I've been using it nonstop, and it's like, God, every time I pick it up, I still get happy. I'm like, this is a good controller.
Oh yeah, the 8-bit do Ultimate 2.4G wireless controller with the Hall effect stuff. I heard a lot of people talking about this thing, and people being like, this thing is so awesome, it's so crazy, and I've always been like, whatever, man, I don't really care. I've got the various controllers, the official ones, I'm fine. And then it was on sale recently for like $25 or something like that.
Man,
and I was like, it's something crazy, like $25 or $30. And I was like, I'll get one of these. I'll try it out. And oh my God, firstly, it works flawlessly with the PC now. Like it's not even plugged into the PC. It's plugged into a random outlet, which is crazy. And like when I take it off the cradle, it automatically connects to the PC because the dongle's in there, and it just works instantly. I'm like, oh shit, this has fixed it. That's crazy.
I have the dock plugged into my PC, and then I just have the I think the dongle plugged into the base underneath there. So it's like the dongle's really close to the controller, so it just works really good. It's very convenient. They really thought of everything.
Yeah.
Oh, Grub, you were out while I was talking about this, but 8-bit Do is making their own telescopic mobile controller.
Oh, really?
And, I like playing some mobile games that, use controllers. Sure. I also really like using, because I have an Android phone, I do like using it as a lightweight emulation device. Because that way I can just pop it into a telescopic controller like a backbone or whatever. And that's just a lighter thing to carry around with me if I want to do some PS1 emulation or whatever. And so I saw they're making their own. And that's really cool because it's cheap. It's only $50, which is like half the price of a backbone and competitors. But also it looks like it's just using the 8-bit Do Ultimate parts. Maybe they're like scaled down a little bit, but it's just that D-pad, those analog sticks, those triggers. It looks really nice. So that's coming out soon here. So I'm looking forward to it.
I would like to hear more about that. That sounds very cool.
8-bit Do, if you're listening,
because
I would like to hear more about that.
Personally,
Mitch, you've been trying to talk for a little while now. So
no, it's okay.
I didn't say you could talk. I just wanted to point out that you've been trying to talk.
Just pointing out your futility.
Acknowledging.
You're so observant, best friend Tim.
All right, fine. What you got to say?
Okay, look, I know this maybe isn't the exact panel to talk to Jeff about his Disney trip a ton, but
no,
can I maybe
you definitely deserve to ask some questions.
I have to.
I just want to know what you thought about the Avatar land, Jeff, and Animal Kingdom.
It was definitely one of the family's favorites. I really enjoyed it. We did the Flight of Passage like pretty early on, and we got off, and Emmy was just like, it just kind of freaked me out. And Addie was like, well, I'm never doing that again. And then about an hour later, after we tried to convince them, hey, do it again, because Steph really liked it, she wanted to do it again. They were like, hey, maybe we'll do it. And then we started like looking, are we going to be able to get back on this thing? And the line was really long. And we were, I think, is that the one that has a virtual queue? Maybe that one doesn't have a virtual queue. I don't think it does.
It does.
Oh, it does. Okay. So we're trying to figure out ways to get back on it. I think we did get a virtual queue. That's right. And it was kind of too late in the day to use it again. So it was a bummer that we couldn't get back on there. But we did get to go through the Avatar land a little bit as it was becoming dusk, as night was falling.
Oh, yeah.
Animal Kingdom closes at 6 p.m.
It closes pretty early right now, and exactly. So it's sad because it's very pretty there at night.
Right, and it was beginning to look very pretty, and it's very impressive. I think that's what I'm at a point where I enjoy the attractions. I think they're fun, but they're over so fast and so fleeting that I kind of like just spending time in the themed areas more than anything else. And that Avatar land was very, very well done. And also, I'm a mark for Avatar, so of course I was into it. But yeah, they did a great job.
Just to clarify, this is Avatar: The Blue People, correct?
The Blue People, yes. I'm sorry,
not the cool Avatar.
Not the cool Avatar.
When will they make the Avatar land that everyone?
They're going to let M. Night Shyamalan cook one more time. And
there was a Avatar TV show ride in that Mall of America theme park. It was like a weird little carousel thing, and you were on Aang's flying buffalo friend or something.
That makes sense.
Right, because all Nickelodeon in the Mall of America, right?
Right, yes. It was like that. A lot of
Mitch, have you seen Avatar? The Airbender one?
No. I was like, I don't want to say I was too old for it because I watch a ton of stuff for a younger audience.
I'm setting you homework. You need to start watching Avatar. Okay?
I started watching it. I really enjoyed it.
That weird Disney shit that you're constantly watching.
You know what's going to upset people? You know what the one thing I did see of Avatar is? The M. Night Shyamalan movie.
Of course he did.
I got dragged to that somehow.
I'm gonna need you to watch this show immediately, and then I want regular reports in on this. Okay,
that sounds fine. Can we? Is there a name there? The last Mitch Bender. Is there something?
No, this isn't for work. This is for your personal enrichment.
This is homework.
This is best friend
stuff.
To
be educated.
This is one of the few attempts that you have. This is the few methods that you have to make me dislike you less. So
yeah. Should I watch Legend of Korra also?
No, just start with the normal. Just start with book one.
Oh yeah,
Avatar.
see if you like Avatar first. Like try that.
I'm sure. Yeah, I bet I'll like. Yeah, I gotta watch that. I need to watch Gravity Falls.
Oh shut the fuck up, Mike! I just pulled the Full Art Sabrina. Sorry, I started opening packs when the Disney.
What did I do?
When the Disney talk started, and I was just very excited about that.
What did I do now? That's very good. That's a very good card, Sean. I'm very proud of you.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyways, we're gonna need those Avatar. Next time I speak to you, if I don't hear about you being partway through Avatar, I'm gonna be very upset. And I'm recommending it because I think you genuinely will like it. It's all it's a very well written show, but it's got all that annoying little baby shit that you love in it.
I do like the baby shit.
The baby shit.
Does it have some power of friendship stuff?
Oh yeah. Oh boy, does it.
Yes.
Oh boy,
does
it.
Good. Yeah. Do two people like maybe slowly fall in love and maybe like kiss at the end?
No, I'm not going to spoil anything for you, but yes.
That's a yes.
Yes. The flying bison does kiss.
Maybe. Ooh. Who can say? Yeah,
maybe just a little kissy kiss.
Mike, you got any more Disney questions?
Hang on. The fact that Mike doesn't know that tells me he knows nothing about this franchise.
Well, that's incredible.
That's the one thing
I feel like he's
going
to watch this and literally grow up. Like he's going to be like, oh, this is what actual good cartoons can be. It's going to be incredible. I can't wait. It's got creatures in there that you'll love, like Appa and Momo. And
what bender do you think I would be? Which of the? I know a little bit. What elemental bender would I be?
You're not going to be a bender. You're being the cabbage guy, and that is it.
I don't like the sound of that.
Yeah, you are my cabbages guy, and that is it.
Okay.
He's our cabbages guy.
Yeah, he's our cabbages guy.
God, that sounds. I don't know why, but that sounds like the worst thing I've ever been called.
No, you'll like the cabbage guy.
Okay.
Yeah.
Isn't there a cool uncle in it?
Yeah, there is, and you are 100% not Uncle Iroh. You are nowhere near Uncle Iroh.
No one is, though. That's that's a high bar.
Uncle Iroh is like, Uncle Iroh will take, if he's taking up your time, he's telling you something wise and helping you grow.
Just like me.
don't know about that one.
Remember when you accidentally called Walt Disney World Disneyland? I had lots of wise things to say about that.
Yeah.
Wise.
You're right.
Wise guy. That's what we call you.
But yeah, I think you would actually really like it, honestly.
Okay.
I think you really, really would like it.
Maybe during this holiday break here, I'll
I would love that. I would love to hear how you get on with it.
I always respected the fact that instead of seasons, it called them books. Right? I would always see the Best Buy or something like book 1 of Avatar. I'm like, ooh, neat. Books are more important than seasons.
I don't know if that's true.
Yeah,
man.
not in Forza Horizon. What are you talking about?
Remember the Book of Boba Fett?
The most important show ever made.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Most people wish they didn't.
Yeah.
Oh my god. That was one of the worst things I've ever watched.
Garbage.
I
Yeah.
was like, what the fuck? I don't even remember it. I just remember him being in the ground for like, what was it, like 30 episodes?
Quite a while. It's the only show I think I ever watched every episode but the last one. I just like at some point I felt obligated. And you think the last one I may as well. And I was just like, who gives a shit?
Yep.
Who cares?
Yeah.
They didn't care, so yeah, why would we?
Right.
Jeff, do you have any follow-ups on your trip to Disney?
I don't. It was very nice.
Land?
Yeah, sure. I think the big thing is you really do notice where the money goes. When you spend all this money on a trip like this, you go there and it's like, there are 40 people working at this bus depot. Like they're like going to make sure that you never like go 2 inches without have someone that might help you or say something nice. And it's like, they're like, I looked it up. Like do they just employ more people than anyone else? They do. 75,000 people work at Disney World. That is the largest.
Oh, just at World, Christ.
Just at World. It's the largest single site employer in the world. And you notice it when you're there. And it's like,
I mean, I feel like it's the largest, most successful, like, doomsday cult waiting to be activated.
But it's like, right,
like,
but
that is
super
literally
nice.
a compound of fucking insane people.
And you go and
when the shit hits the fan, they're all just gonna turn into like
I went to
fucking
Universal.
maniac cultists.
I went to Universal, and it's like it's the same thing, but they're not as happy. So give me the Doomsday Cult. Like that was like, yeah,
I guess so, yeah. But
like if I'm gonna
the
spend my
moment
money,
like shit hits
at
the
least
fan, you're just
have the
gonna
good
hear.
Kool-Aid. Yeah, it was.
Yeah, the moment the shit hits the fan, you're just gonna see like gates appear and
if
everyone's
I get
like,
They're
trapped
going
in
to
there,
sing
I'll
a
be good.
song at least when they're drinking the Kool-Aid, so that'll be entertaining.
yeah, that's gonna be when they like go full Stonecutters and everyone goes, "Oh, we
sure.
had no idea." That's why there's 7,000 people in here. They're a self-sustaining society built on fucking mouse cartoons.
It was
75,000.
somebody-
Damn.
Sorry.
That's a respect on a name.
Actually, to be clear, though, there's plenty of us to kill you.
I did feel myself becoming more of like, oh, I am becoming one of the cultists because my favorite part was always telling my family, I think you're going to like this. And when they liked it, I was like, oh, I did it. I got them.
That is the truth.
Yeah.
Is the adult experience. Is hoping that people like things as much as you think they
like
will.
they're like, oh, they did love Soren.
Right.
I knew they would love Soren. And then, it was a good time. I think some of my favorite stuff was going around the moon, specifically in Guardians of the Galaxy, the Cosmic Rewind, because that like it just you feel like it's like an actual gravitational pull, and they do a really good job of emphasizing that. I don't know. I just had a really good time. It definitely felt worth it.
The picture of your kids on Guardians of the Galaxy Rewind is incredible. Your daughter's holding onto you for dear life.
She was the one that was down to clown with a lot of these rides, and then she would get off and be like, "Ooh, I don't know about that one." I'm like, "Yeah, I asked, and you seem to want to do it." And Addie like cried on every single ride, and then we get to the next one. I'm like, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And she's like, well, Mama's going, so I'm gonna go. I'm like, all right.
That's good because sometimes like a kid can have a bad experience and they're like, I'm not doing any more rides the rest of the trip.
I was wondering if that would happen.
Is the Guardians one that does like the drop?
So that's in Disneyland. Yes. It's a drop. In Disney World, it's a coaster.
Yes, and it's
gotcha.
It's basically a lot like Space Mountain, but in terms of like it's inside and it's got a similar sort of like fast turns and stuff like that. But the car you're sitting in itself can rotate left and right. And so when you do go around objects, it's like, all right, we're going to turn the cart over towards the moon, and then we're going to have you be in like this geosynchronous orbit with the moon really fast, and you're going to get whipped to the side, and you're really going to feel that effect. Crazy. And it was really well done. And they're playing music and stuff. It's good.
I've avoided that one for a while because I am a coward. Do you think I could do Guardians of the Galaxy?
How do you feel about doing Space Mountain?
Space Mountain I'm pretty good with these days.
I think it's one step up from Space Mountain.
I hear it's one step up. That's probably like that step that could be the big difference.
I know. I think so. That was definitely one where we're doing all these different roller coasters and stuff like that. And there's the little kids roller coasters. The kids would very much gotten to those. Flight of the Hippogriff and Barnstormer. They love those.
Seven Dwarfs Mine Train.
That everyone really liked that. And then we would do Guardians, and it was like, okay, I could tell that they thought that was very exhilarating and fun, but it was also too much for them. And so, and I'm like, it was like wondering, like, Addie was having a very similar reaction to all this stuff, where it was reminding me, like, this is probably how Mike felt as a kid doing some of these things. And I'm like, is she going to be ruined on these? And that was one they would not do again. And Steph really wanted to do it.
To be clear, she's already doing much better than I was. Sure. I just didn't go on.
Yeah.
Right?
And she's like, and she kept coming back to other ones, but that one was one that she wouldn't do again. So I think that one's probably a bit too much.
One last question. What was the yummiest thing that you ate in Disney World, Jeff? Because for me, a big part of it anymore is the food.
Yes. So there's the Rodeo Roundup, the restaurant, the sit-down restaurant in Toy Story Land had really, really good barbecue sauce. It was very, very good. Mm-hmm. We had a good waiter. We had the dining plan, so we could get alcoholic drinks with every meal, and we did. That was good. They had great drinks. Also, I had the curry at the I specifically tried to remember
Tusker House,
Aladdin Land.
I definitely had the curry at Tusker House, and that was very, very good. But no, there was also in the Japanese restaurant in Japan in Epcot. That kind of sits up a little bit behind the the thing right there. There was no one there. It was right before the fireworks. We went in there, had dinner, and I had Japanese curry there, and it was really, really, really good. So there were several restaurants where I was like, this is okay. And then there was many that was like, oh, this food actually does rock. And that was the like rodeo restaurant and stuff like that. So a lot of good barbecue at Disney, turns out.
Yeah, absolutely. There's that Sam Eagle themed one in Epcot. I haven't even been able to eat it yet.
Yeah, I went in there.
I'm eating so much in Epcot.
Yeah, it smelled so good, but we already had plans to go somewhere else. So, but man, the Sam Eagle, and we had already had barbecue a bunch of times. So we're like, well, no, let's not do Sam Eagle. But man, that place smelled great.
The thing I loved most about going to Disney was mainly getting the Dole Whip, because I was led to believe that Dole Whip was only available inside Disneyland. So I was like, oh, well, at least that's something exciting for me to look forward to.
Dole Whip's good, though.
Dole Whip is everywhere, it turns out.
Yeah, there are a lot of places to have it now,
every time I go to, San Diego Comic-Con, the hotel that we do all of our workout, right underneath it is a place that does Dole Whip in multiple different flavors. So me and Lucio always go to a thing on the way back, Dole Whip. So now I'm just I have no reason to go back to Disneyland.
There's no Disney magic there, though. They don't have an animatronic bird singing to you while you eat it.
I did not go in there. There was a few things.
Tiki Lounge.
Yes, what is that? What I called it, or is that what it's called?
You called it the Enchanted Tiki Lounge, and it's the Enchanted Tiki Room. And yes, that small mistake upset me greatly.
Okay, so that's the other thing. There are a lot of things where it's this is a 4D show or a place where you go sit down and there's animatronics. And every single time I'd be like, that sounds boring. And then I'd go in, I'd be like, this is amazing. I love this. Every single time. Mickey's PhilharMagic. I'm like, oh, well, whatever. Go in there. I'm like, this CGI's old. 5 seconds in. This rules. I'm having a great time. They just do a good job with all that stuff. And so, it was easy to enjoy myself. The one bummer was we're trying to get a space for the fireworks on the last night at Magic Kingdom, because this is the one night where the kids were able to stay up. Both of them were able to stay up and watch it. And we got there an hour and 10 minutes before they're going to start. We're really going to stake this out. And, Steph wanted to go get popcorn. And then it's okay, we're getting so crowded that she's not going to have enough room here. And everyone's standing right in front of my 5 and 7-year-old. And it's none of these people have kids. And I definitely had a little bit of the, these fireworks shows are for kids. So there's going to be a bunch of things on that castle right there. It's going to be a bunch of kids movies. Can you guys just have some awareness that you're standing right in front of children? But whatever. I held them both up for 45 minutes while they watched the fireworks, and that was frustrating.
That is primarily one of the reasons I quite dislike Disneyland.
Yeah,
like, I think the adults are the worst part of Disneyland.
So
they have no humility, they have no shame, and they have no self-awareness. And like it happens every time I go there. I see these bitch-ass adults getting in the way of children and like just being the worst human beings every time. And every time I go there, I see like at least 2 or 3 instances of it, and I'm just like, I think there should be a rule where if you're actively making a child's experience worse, you should be kicked out like immediately. I
definitely pulled some moves.
Look
here.
at that motherfucker up there. I would never. I couldn't do that.
I feel like in a situation like the fireworks, there should be someone going around and being like, that adult needs to go back so the kid can get forward. Like that is how it should be.
And it is a little bit like where like you go and watch anything about like the start, like how like Walt started it, and he was like, I just wanted a place to go where we could do things together with my very young daughter. So I'm like, fucking preach, Walt. Hell yeah, let's make that place.
Walt Disney, known for his good takes on life, the universe, and the people in it.
A lot of that stuff's overstated, whatever. But there is.
I feel like you should shame people by going around to these adults and being like, hey, you're being a bit Michael Jackson right now.
So what I did do is I was like, we stopped and there was a spilled Coke, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna be like, don't stand in that Coke, so it create like a little bubble in front of the kids, and that didn't work. But there was also a bit of smashed fries. Someone stepped in some fries, and it looked a little bit like, oh, maybe someone was sick here. So when there's a group of girls here and a couple here, and they basically just stood on top of me. When I'm trying to stand right in front of the kids to like create like a little space so they can look up and see everything at least a little bit. And my bag was bumping them because the kids kept asking for stuff. And so one of the girls was like, hey, your bag keeps hitting me. I'm like, you should move. You should move actually.
Wow.
And then she looked at me like, how dare you? So I'm like, I kind of changed tactics. I'm like, I'm sorry. I'm just trying not. Someone spilled their Coke here, and I think that's vomit. And I'm just trying not to step in it. And then she just turns to her friends, and they all just collectively moved 10 feet. And I had space the rest of the time. So it worked out just fine. I played the barf card, and it worked. It was mostly just like very upsetting, like frustrating, because it was such a good time, and we didn't have a lot of interactions like this. And of course, on the last night, I'm dealing with a little bit of assholes, and it's like, confrontation, and I'm like, oh, it like gets in the pit of my stomach. But let it go. It worked out well. The kids saw everything because, again, I had to hold them, but it was fine. Yep.
Yeah, I feel like that should be like, hey man, you know how when you get on buses or public transport, and it's like, hey, these seats are for the elderly. Like, let if you're sitting here and someone comes in and they're like less able or they're older, please give these seats up. I feel like that same rule and kind of ethos around it should be instituted in Disneyland, where it's like, hey, these are kids' seats. So if a kid comes up and says, hey, I want to sit here, please, you should get out of the way.
Yeah,
but
I do recognize
like
at a point
adults
now
are too entitled to do that. They're like, no, I watched this when I grew up, so I'm entitled to it as well. So shut up, man.
And Disney, like, at a point, is like, it's so big, and all of that money that the adults spend makes the whole thing go around. So I get that they're like catering to everybody, but just in that
if
one
you're at
moment,
Universal though, do whatever, disrespect children,
no
whatever. Fucking who cares? Like, I don't give a shit about that.
Woody Woodpecker ain't gonna stop you. That's like the one like. The one group of people who like don't like Disney, I understand, is people who don't like crowds. I'm like, well, yep, sure are a lot of those in Disney. And when you get a bunch of people together, all bets are off. You're gonna just run into assholes and weird people, and you're gonna get frustrated. Yeah, like that is gonna.
And I know that those people went home and are like, that guy was an asshole. Like they're gonna think I was the asshole. But I'm like, I think I know
you are little.
Yeah, but I knew I was right in this situation. It's a fireworks show for kids.
100%. It's for the kids. As long as your kids came out of that like happy and got to see with it,
really
I would. If you had told me you punched someone in the face when they like came up to you, just so your kids could have a better experience, I'd be like, good on you, man. I respect that. You punched a Disney adult, I respect that.
Next time.
I love that. I love that for you.
Gosh, enough of the Disney talk.
Crazy. Mitch, anything that you want to talk about? Oh, fucking hell.
No, dang it. Too late. The music started.
No. We have to carry on. Like, on to the next section. I gave you an opportunity, Mitch. It wasn't me that took it away from you.
I'm still feeling dizzy.
I'm real sorry. I'm sorry about that.
That's fine. I know you did your best.
All right. We're going to go to Sean to begin with to see what you've been playing. There's a couple of things that I'm really interested in hearing about from you, including not Days Gone, obviously, but the other two.
The first one I want to start with a little bit more metaphor. I'm like in end game right now. If you know, you know. Like, I don't know how close to end game I am, but like I'm after the opera house. I'm after the place you go after the opera house. So that has to be like closing in on the end there, right? Like,
yeah,
at
you're
least
closing
the
in the
final
end.
quarter.
Yeah, and like most JRPGs, there's always like maybe a smidge more than you think there is, but yeah. You're definitely
like that's what I was
stretch.
telling you. Yeah, because I'm 60 hours in, so I'm like, yeah, at minimum I have another 10 to go. Like
my final time was 80 hours. So
yeah, so I know I have quite a bit more to go. And hey, we got the extra long weekend here, so I'm probably gonna finish it this weekend.
Nice.
That game just keeps getting better, weirdly enough. Like it there's a little bit of a lull in the middle where they establish a bunch of story things, but it just goes so many places. The gameplay keeps getting better too. It is a phenomenal game. I want to bring it up here more so because Tam, have you played through Metaphor? I know you probably
I'm actively playing it now. So
okay.
I played a bunch of it to make sure that, you know, I had a good frame of reference for like coverage, review, verification, and that kind of stuff. But once that I had enough of that and that phase passed, I deliberately took my foot off the pedal because I wanted to enjoy it as opposed to, because I remember playing through Persona like 3 times in a row, like just for like coverage stuff. And by the end of it, I was just like, I love Persona 5, but I just don't ever want to hear about it ever again. And I'm trying to avoid that this time because I'm hoping that I will also be finished relatively soon. But I'm not super far in. I've been playing in bits and pieces, and it runs really well on the ROG Ally and X, and so I've been kind of like playing a bit on my computer and then playing a bit like in bed and that kind of stuff, and really enjoying it that way.
Yeah, that's
how
I
did the whole game through. Yeah, I did the whole game through my ROG Ally X, and it was
which that's impressive. I play. I do basically the Switch thing I do for that system as well on the Nintendo Switch, as in I play big story parts in the big comfy chair back there on the big old TV. And then when it's like, okay, X amount of days until this happens, go do whatever, then I'll play, you know, like an hour or two before bed on the Steam Deck while I'm like laying in bed or chilling in the chair or whatever. Yeah, I'm really enjoying it. It's very, very good. And it's definitely like, you know, towards the top of the list, if not maybe at the top for a game of the year stuff for me. So
I just really love Heisme.
Oh, we all do.
Heisme's the best.
He's so good.
That's still like the one Game Awards sub I'm upset about. First off, no Metaphor characters are best performance, but Heisme especially. He has so many just incredible battle barks. He has the best battle barks since Marvel vs. Capcom 2. It's so good.
Yeah.
Heisme not getting nominated, and the voice actor for Egon in Erdtree not getting
and they have similar energy, don't they?
Disgraceful.
Yeah.
I killed Egon.
I posted about that on like Blue Sky or whatever it was, and people were up my ass. They were like, Egon only has like 2 or 3 phrases, and I'm just like, and
if they were up your ass, it's probably Threads. I'm just going on here.
It was Threads and Twitter actually, And I was like, and so who cares? So those 2 or 3 phrases are better than anyone else. So
at this point, I just want Jeff Grubb to play Metaphor just so we can see Heisme. It's the most
I will play until I see Heisme. I'll make that deal. I don't know when, but I will.
Heisme is incredible.
No, he's not getting there. He's not getting there.
Yeah, probably not. But it's like, to give you a frame of reference, Jeff, it's kind of like Barrett and Marlene in FF7.
Okay.
It's like moments like that. A lot sadder for reasons, but like a lot of really good character moments there. And just metaphors.
I mean, he's a little bat guy with a sword.
Bat guy. He's like a sad dad, but he's like a fun sad dad. He's like
well done sad
filled
dad.
with wisdom.
He's a good sad dad.
So you also get like the sad dad part of his arc gets resolved, or at least like
fairly quickly,
progressed fairly quickly.
Yeah.
He's more than a sad dad.
Yeah, that being his social link and the way it resolves, and like I said this, I think in our initial review cast, of the way his social link is him growing as a person, which is meaningful considering that he is like the mentor to so much of this younger cast. I think is fantastic.
It's one of those situations where you're like, the younger cast gets to see someone older and wiser actually like resolve their issues in a very healthy way, and it serves to be a good example to them. Which
a lot
is really
of good examples of like healthy friendships in this game, and it makes me really glad that they didn't do the kind of romance stuff, right? There's a couple things that hint at it, and that's cute. But somehow it does feel actually more mature and more adult. That it's not just like, here's all these people. Which one of them do you want to go on a date with, right? It just seems to. You want to eat a bucket, sir?
Yeah.
Yeah, just the characters absolutely make this game. It's phenomenal, and I'm loving it so much.
Yeah, for sure. The other game that you've got on here, I'm very, very interested by. I've never heard of it, but it's in my wheelhouse.
Yeah.
NBA Superstars. What's that all about?
That's right. Okay, so this is that Raw Thrills arcade game at Dave & Buster's now. That is like
I have to go to a Dave & Buster's.
I forget how much NBA Jam involvement is in there, but like Tim Kitzrow is the voice and everything. But so this is the one that people are like, oh, this is going to be the good new NBA Jam. I have a friend in town who he's ironically here for work. But we went to a Dave & Buster's last night just to hang out and everything. And that was the first thing we went to because they got the machine. It's right there in the front. And we all sat down and put our what's the conversion on this? It does cost you like $2, $2.50 or whatever per person per play because that's what Dave & Buster's machines are going to cost you. And there's a little bit of jank. It is a fully 3D game. It's not 2v2. It is like those kind of weird NBA jams. It's 3v3. So that's a little awkward. So it's a 3-button game now. It's always been 3-button game, including Turbo, but now like Turbo is also your like your steal/shove button, so that's a little jank. But it's kind of cool to just go to an arcade setting and play NBA Jam again, in addition to all these, more carnival games that they tend to have at these places, and the stuff like the the Injustice arcade game, which is just like you press left, right, and mash a button or whatever. They're very dumbed down now. It's fun to kind of just go back to an original, even if it, again, feels a little jank. The physics aren't quite right. But, like, look, I was playing Bucks because Wisconsin. My buddy, of course, picked Golden State Warriors. I was
go.
Mother.
You should have picked those Cavs. Those Cavs are on fire right now. Let's go.
Yeah, but But we had Giannis, so guess who won? I'm just saying.
Hey, this has to be a Raw Thrills joint, right?
Yeah, that's what he said. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
Oh, I missed that. Sorry, my bad.
And it has guns. Sorry, that's a reference to a time when I wasn't
John
listening.
Morant.
Yeah. So yeah, I don't know. Even if the game isn't like amazing, it's got nothing on actual NBA Jam. I'm still gonna
goes, right?
Yeah. We have a barcade here. If I actually want to play it, that's where I'll go. But if you're just like hanging out, it's kind of neat. Like playing that, and like I just wanted to say that like my Dave & Buster's also has. That's where they have the 4-player Cruisin' Blast machines that I like talking about. They have the Mario Kart arcade. They have the Luigi's Mansion arcade. That game rules. If you've never had a chance to play it, like you have. Luigi's the poltergust, and every time you suck in a coin, the thing goes thunk thunk, like the actual
that's satisfying. I don't think I've ever played that.
It's so satisfying. Yeah, it's so much fun.
I just
love these games.
I was at the Hollywood Dave & Buster's, and they had a 5th House of the Dead I never knew existed.
Yeah, Scarlet Dawn, right?
Yeah, game ruled. That was super fun.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's tough. Like they eat your quarters there.
Currently, what is the best way to play NBA Jam?
If you have a like 360 era console, that game is
that's the one I really like. I like, obviously the older NBA Jam is better, but I really enjoyed the 360 era one. But it's just like you cannot play that anywhere, right?
Unfortunately, due to licensing stuff, it's hard to go back to some of these games. I just fire up. I like firing up a Dreamcast emulator so I can play like Blitz 2000 and NBA Showtime with my friends.
Fans are always making like mods that do the new rosters. And,
they do
like,
it for classic
NBA Jam. Now, I don't know if they're doing it in like some Genesis version or some MAME arcade version, right? I don't know exactly what the basis is there.
I just wish the On Fire edition was a little more available. I think I did see that someone on PS3, that someone was emulating the PS3 version.
Jesse in chat says that it's backwards compatible on Xbox One and Series.
Is it?
The On Fire. He says the NBA Jam On Fire edition. He's got a link to it in chat.
There's no way that's true. That's crazy.
Play with Xbox Series. There you go, Tam.
There you go.
But when I opened up this link, it says not available separately. So I don't know how I actually.
Well, it knows you're a Cavs fan.
Yeah, it's. Oh yeah, he says it's been delisted for purchase. But if you own it,
so if you already own it,
I definitely owned it already.
Which also means, because the way they do it, that if you have a disc for 360, you can pop that in a Series X as well, and it'll work.
I'm out of luck because I think I owned it for the Wii. So shit.
I'm gonna see if I can buy a disc because I'm pretty sure I owned it, but it might be like a regional thing because I owned it when I lived in London.
It shouldn't be too bad. I mean, the fact that it's backward compatible will make it maybe a little bit more expensive, but it should be affordable. I bet.
I wonder if I can buy.
Is it really too late to just really bring back NBA Jam as kind of a cool AAA thing again?
No, I think it's definitely. It should be something that people are doing. I don't understand why.
I know, but we don't even get Blitz. We don't get SSX. No. We don't get any sort of like alternative sports of any kind. Games.
Whenever we get arcade sports games now, it's like either like an indie spiritual successor or it's something kind of done more cheaply.
And that, I think that said, like we were saying the same thing about arcade racers a little bit ago, and then we've got a ton of arcade racers in the last few years, and they've all done pretty well.
In the indie space,
yeah, usually, but there's one with like that Hot Wheels game, right? Seems like it's like it's big enough, and I guess Cruise and Blast is definitely. More indie, even though it's.
But speaking of, that's where you're going to get this stuff because Raw Thrills was the natural extension from Midway,
right?
And so that's why they are putting out these excessive, a little too expensive, and sometimes a little lower quality arcade games. But they are at least trying to keep the spirit alive there, even if they don't always land. But sometimes they do with stuff like I think Cruise and Blast is very fun. Again. I think you know how the physics in Cruise and Blast are just a little jank. Like they're over the top, but they're also kind
make
of
believe.
Jank.
Yeah.
That's kind of like that's an example of how like NBA Superstars feels. It doesn't feel quite right. It's a little off, but it's I don't know. I would rather have a mediocre experience than nothing at all. That's kind of where I'm at right now.
I'm doing research here, and I think On Fire Edition is the only one that works backwards compatible, and it was never released as a disc, if I remember correctly.
Oh man.
So that's the issue.
Oh, right. Yes, you are right. Yeah. It was the Wii that got physical.
That's a bummer.
Or like a base edition. Yeah. Okay.
Bollocks. That's annoying.
How are we going to come on and slam and welcome to the jam?
He has a disc.
What? I'm Googling like right now, and I cannot see a disc version for it anywhere.
Well, Santa. We'll get Santa on.
Yeah, we'll get Santa.
Because if someone can send me a link
just
to
the base edition was released on disc.
Yeah.
It's On Fire edition is digital only.
Okay.
Yeah, it's digital only.
Yeah, so that specifically is the version that's backwards compatible.
Tell me about Days Gone.
Yeah.
Do I have to? I was really stalling with that last segment, Jeff.
Here's what I remember about it. There was
last thing. Sorry. Last thing. Go watch Wrestling with Gaming's the story behind NBA Jam from a few weeks. It's very good. Anyways.
I remember that there's a man who loves his wife and his hog, and then
loves is a strong word.
Okay, yeah, he wants to ride them, and then there's zombies, and then the zombies have a tech where there's a bunch of them, and you can sort of herd them.
The horde.
Yeah, horde of zombies.
That sounds, Jeff, it may be interesting. I don't know.
I wouldn't know. I got 10 hours into the game and didn't really see any of that.
Holy shit, okay.
Yep. You want to talk about slow openings. Golly gee. This game is the most, I think, it was Mike who says, it's a very PS4 game. It's like aggressively PS4, where just it's a survival, stealth, cover shooter, third-person shooter, open world. They kind of just combined everything that we were oversaturated with into one game and put a sometimes problematic biker culture skin on top of it all. Mm-hmm. So the gameplay of Days Gone is fine. It's serviceable. It gets good enough that I was having fun with like encounters, shooting and everything. I would get out my sniper rifle for stealthier moments. That was kind of fun. I was starting to have fun with the gameplay. But yeah, the horde doesn't get introduced until, granted, I was streaming and everything, so like you gotta subtract a few hours of game time there. But I was, somewhere in the realm of like 8 to 10 hours in, and they were just introducing the horde, which was like the focus of that initial reveal trailer. That's a problem. That is like, I made this comparison, and you know what? I'll stand by it. It's like the Death Stranding problem, where when you're taking too long to get to the meat of what it is, I find that boring.
It's
like,
wasting your time,
It's wasting my time, like straight up. Like I get there's build up, I get like, artistic vision and all that, but it was I forget who said, but I remember someone back in the day when Death Stranding came out said, if you have a 40-hour game where 10 hours of it are boring, you made a bad game.
Yeah.
And I'm not sure I would go like quite that strong, but that's kind of the sentiment I have, and kind of how I feel about Days Gone, where, man, if you like, there's flashbacks to this action-packed sequence where the outbreak first happens, or like they're in the middle of the outbreak or whatever. I'm like, if that's how it starts gameplay wise, and then sort of like just Last of Us, that's kind of something we were saying while streaming, is like, why was this not just like a Last of Us spin-off? That's kind of what it feels like to begin with. But regardless, if you had started there and then sort of like kept ramping up, giving me something to like hold on to, of like showing me a horde early or something, showing me something a little bit more grand in the beginning, I would have had more to work with. But the fact that you start kind of low key, it's a slow intro, they're slowly introducing these characters that you're supposed to not like that's the bit, is that all of these characters kind of suck because zombie apocalypse, everyone kind of sucks. I saw someone in chat just say, yeah, it gets in its own way, and I think it could have been a better game. It was just hamstrung by like some of the design around
it's needed an editor, right?
How it's laid out.
Well, the worst thing is that we didn't get to the freaking wedding flashback. We did a lot of flashbacks, but not the wedding with the riding hog thing.
Yeah, the iconic one. I assumed we would have got to. That seems like the kind of thing you would get to in the first 8 to 10 hours. But no, we see this really awkward Hallmark movie meet cute scene instead, where she almost kills a guy. It's just, a decent gameplay, but I think poorly written game is what we ended up with there.
Yeah, that's definitely always the sense I got. So not too surprised to hear that. But I mean, are you occasionally having fun? Like, is it like
Yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Like, it took a while to get going. It took a while until it is a survival game. I don't expect to have access to like a minigun and to like mow these things down or anything like that. But it does take a little bit for you to get a more decent assault rifle or shotgun, whichever you want. Upgrade your pistol a little bit. Get your like long range sniper rifle or crossbow that also does well. It takes a little bit to get going, but once it does, I was actually having fun with the gameplay. Yeah.
Remember that part? God, my favorite part was the enemy set up an ambush for you, so they just pushed an empty, on fire, exploding car down a hill into the road you're going on. At first, we're like, "What the fuck is that?" And then, like, it was an ambush. I was like, "Oh, it's actually pretty cool."
Yeah, I was like, "Okay, that's actually." That's a cool moment, actually, where I'm just going from point A to point B, going to my next objective, and they actually got in my way in a smart way, which the enemies often do not do.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Okay.
So like, it has moments.
You'd rather play that than Ride to Hell Retribution, is what I'm hearing.
Yeah, okay. I guess.
I know it's a tough one. It's a tough question. Yeah.
I can say that I had more fun watching Deshaun than Ride to Hell Retribution.
Yeah, at least stuff was happening. Like the game was giving me stuff to work with.
What are you talking about? People fuck with their clothes on in Ride to Hell Retribution. I bet you didn't get any of that in Days Gone.
Yeah, but only in the first half. They stopped.
They didn't stop doing that. The best special effect they stopped using. Yeah.
The special effect. Yeah.
There you go. That's my book report to the class.
What's the plan now? Is it to keep playing?
What's next?
Well, okay, so just, with how we're busy here at the end of the year in particular, I don't think we really have time for it. That's why I said episode 5, Days Gone, was the season finale, not the series finale. Yeah, if we have time, if we need to like fill a slot, like, Grub's on vacation again or something, yeah, we can bring it back. Absolutely. Because I was having a good enough time that I do kind of want to see where it goes gameplay wise. So we'll bring it back. I did commit to a playthrough. So I'm saying at some point when it works into the schedule, yeah, we can absolutely bring it back.
Yeah.
Cool.
That was book 1 of Days.
Book one, exactly.
Yeah.
Cool. Love it.
I want to hear about Dragon Quest 3 HD 2D. Mitch, what's going on?
Yeah, I'm pretty deep into this one now. Sure, I played original Dragon Quest 3, the sort of mobile port version that's on Switch, which is ugly, but I really like that. But boy, this is just so much better. It is just the prettiest of the HD 2D games that I have ever seen. And I think they do a really good job of making locations feel bespoke, which is a problem you run into in the original 8-bit games, right? Because you're using a lot of the same tile sets and whatnot. But kind of one of the gimmicks of Dragon Quest 3 is that the overall map is just the United States, but slightly different. So, like, one of the first big cities you go to is Romeria, and it's clearly just Rome, but it has some of these, like, Italian flourishes. You go to a place that's supposed to be Portugal, it's the same thing. And these places do kind of have distinct flavors, and they do look different, and they have just these really pretty areas, like a fountain square that is just absolutely glistening and has birds flying by, and it's just so gosh darn pretty. And then supporting all that is this very kind of classic, you could say basic, turn-based RPG system that I actually do find really endearing. And if you play Dragon Quest, it has its own quirks with how stuff works, specifically with the way enemies are grouped up, where you can, like, pure AoE attacks are sometimes a bit rare in that you can attack everybody. So you have to kind of really think about who you're attacking. You can attack certain groups of enemies at the same time. Your party composition is very important, and this is the game where in the very beginning you get to pick, like, who's going to be in your party. A warrior, a mage. That composition matters, and then later you can change their job, so you can have these kind of interesting things like a thief who has a bunch of healing spells, that sort of stuff. I know Jan was saying, like, it's a grindy game, and it absolutely is. Like, you are going to kind of just reach the next dungeon and maybe get your ass kicked and realize I gotta kind of just go back to town and get some levels and get some gold so I can buy new gear. I love that shit. I like grinding in these games. It gives me some weird zen like sense of accomplishment. I can just do that and put on some stupid YouTube video, and that'll be my evening. So there's definitely a bit of an old school vibe there that maybe not everyone's going to appreciate, but I'm glad that we can still get RPGs like this. They do a lot to modernize it, especially in terms of making it more clear what you need to do next. The auto saves are very generous now, right? So if you're playing like the original NES version, that could be a big pain point. But I'm glad it does still feel like an old school JRPG.
Yeah, it was like
definitely how these HD 2D remakes should feel, right?
Yeah, I think so. I think it's like when you have a game like this and you're going to remake it, and you're going to do all this stuff with the HD 2D. I think the whole point is to still make it feel like the old game in a lot of ways. Like, I think you can prune it. You can treat it like a bonsai tree a little bit and fix it up here or there a little bit to remove some of the pain. But if that was the experience of the game, you should be trying to preserve that. And so I'm glad to hear that is.
Did I say Rome is in America by accident?
You said the world is the United States.
You said an incredible thing which
may just be the whitest thing you've ever done.
Yeah, I told you I'm dizzy.
People have been putting like Shibuya, Ohio, Odessa, Hawaii.
Yeah, I was gonna let go.
How geocentric of me.
Yeah, I was gonna let it go too, but then everyone's like, we should call them out. I'm like, all right.
The overworld is the actual our world, is what I mean by that. Sorry.
The what world?
The overworld.
Shoot Earth.
The Shoot Earth in this game is based off of the the Work Earth in this game is based off the Shoot Earth in real world. I got confused there.
Maybe call your dad when you're done here. Say, Doctor, I'm dizzy, and I'm confused. I'm mixing things up. I'm not feeling so well.
Dad, I told everybody Dragon Quest 3 World America, and he'll be like, "Oh, you're not doing good. Get over here,
son. You're having a stroke.
Yep.
You kind of need to not be calling me."
Mike, I keep asking this, but the more you play it, I always was curious about Dragon Quest, Dragon Warrior, and stuff like that, wanting to check it out. And this one looks so good, I want to play it, but is it going to be one of those where it's like, he'll probably bounce off?
I mean, it's hard to say because it gets going. The pace of it is very fast in terms of it becoming the game right away. But again, it can get difficult. Even when I was grinding for a while, and I like this, but still getting to boss fights at the end of long dungeons, I was like, oh yeah, this is still actually a pretty decent challenge. It's not So like a lot of Final Fantasies, and I love them. There's a lot of Final Fantasies you can kind of push X to win in a bit. Just kind of attack, do a limit break. You got to be a bit more thoughtful here. I think you probably would like that and engage with it. Yeah. As long as you're down with the grinding, turn-based battles, I know that bristles against some people. I don't mind that, but I mean, they're definitely here. That's just how the game works. It's hard to say, Jeff. I think you'd honestly would probably last longer in this than in Metaphor. Just because, Metaphor does have a long story-based intro, and it might ask you if you think that fiction can impact reality, and I know that you would find that deeply upsetting.
You're right. I just can't handle that. I did play, people are suggesting 11. I did play quite a bit of 11 on my paternity leave. I started that up for some reason.
That's right.
Played like 15 hours of it, and I really enjoyed it. I didn't go back to it after paternity leave was over, but I enjoyed what I played of it. So
interesting. I thought you didn't love those aggressively old school JRPGs.
I don't know. I always, it's not that I don't like them. I want to like them, and then I do occasionally try to play them, and it's like, oh, this isn't working for me. But I liked, which one was on the DS? Was it 9?
That was 9.
I liked 9 as well. I played a bunch of that too. So I don't know.
And 9 is kind of a lot like 3 in a quite a few ways. The nice thing about Dragon Quest in general is that they're all kind of like each other. Dragon Quest has sort of stayed what it is for the most part, aside from when they made that MMO we didn't get.
Right.
So it's like, if you liked 11, you'll like this. It's Dragon Quest though.
Yeah, I'm gonna give this a shot. It's just the problem is so many games, and I want to go back and start setting some more times in Astrobot, and there's just a lot of things taking up my time. You
have to, if you don't beat 1,000 Year Door by the time I see you in LA, I'm just not going to talk to you.
I know. I'm finished
That'll
up
Echoes of content.
Yeah, that'll be great.
People will love that.
I'm finishing up Echoes of Wisdom, and then 1,000 Year Doors right there. That was like when I got back from vacation. That's the first thing I started working on.
Bad priorities, but okay.
Yeah, sure, no problem.
I don't really want to talk about this, but
look, it's real quick. I beat Kingdom Hearts 2 on Proud Mode. Yeah, I did ask you because I started it last December.
Proud is a word.
Proud, I was feeling quite a lot of pride. I'll have to do. I beat it based off the save file that I had last December when I do my yearly marathon stream for the Giant Bomb Extra Life campaign.
What's it called?
It's called Final Mixmas. And this December, we're going to be playing Kingdom Hearts Birth by Sleep for Final Mixmas. There's only one more Birth by Sleep till Christmas, everybody. So I just wanted to get prepped for that and get that ready to go. Hey, I like Kingdom Hearts 2 a whole lot still. It is, of course, real stupid. But I mean, come on. You have whole scenes where Christopher Lee is talking to Mickey Mouse and playing it dead straight. It's incredible. Right? You get to hear Donald Duck say the words, Sora, it's Sephiroth. It's so good. Tron is there, and he kind of makes me cry because he learns about emotions and love and friendship. And the combat system is actually super fun in this game. It's very fast paced. You have your form shifts and you summon Peter Pan, because if you get killed when Peter Pan is around, then Tinkerbell touches your nose and brings you back to life. So it's a very, very it's a thing you can kind of manipulate.
I'm sorry, that reminds me. Amy's tooth fell out at Disney, and we told the front desk, and Tinkerbell was her tooth fairy and left her a note under her pillow and stuff. It was amazing.
Naturally.
Disney fucking magic. Yeah. It's real.
I would like to tell the audio listeners that Tam's face is slowly turning inward with how much he's saying.
Yeah, just completely bitter.
I played this shit out of Kingdom Hearts 1 and 2, and I think it's like one of those games where I finished and I was like, I'm deeply embarrassed by this.
Square Enix had something to do with this? Ew.
Yeah. I'm a Kingdom Hearts fan, but also like I recognize that it is top to bottom complete nonsense bullshit. And it's just like, I reviewed Kingdom Hearts 3. You can go and read my review of it. I'm just like, all of this is so cringe. And I just hate every second I'm doing this.
that stuff definitely gets worse. Like by Kingdom Hearts 3, it kind of is total nonsense. I can still follow it because I'm a sicko, and that I am not proud of. I'm not proud that I play Kingdom Hearts 3 and know what's going on. That does actually bring me a level of shame.
Okay,
Kingdom
Mike,
Hearts 2 has a purity to it.
I know you never played Key because it was a mobile game, but have you played like every other Kingdom Hearts?
I played every other thing, every other spinoff thing. Yeah,
Okay.
Key, the browser game, was the one I was like, I don't need to play this. Turns out, very important to Kingdom Hearts 3 story, and
yeah,
probably very important to Kingdom Hearts 4.
That's the messed up thing about Kingdom Hearts. There's no such thing as a spin-off. They are all very canon and very important.
That's why I think a lot of people were kind of like upset at Kingdom Hearts 3 because they played 2 and they're like, excuse me, well, we don't have to worry about all these like 15 spin-offs or anything, right? Then they play 3 and it turns out, those move the story forward in very important ways. And by the way, that last one in the 3DS, that introduced time travel, so fuck you, because that's just part of the proceedings now.
If you had no frame of reference for who like the fuck Aqua is or whatever, it's just gonna be like, what does any of this mean, man? What is Nording? What is going?
Sweetness, you're gonna learn all about Aqua, Ven, and Terra. It's gonna be great.
Oh my lord! I also like remember going back and like I remember during the Kingdom Hearts 2 like days when people were just losing their shit over how much they love Axel, and I was like, what? This is
he's a guy that stands between two tires and he drives around. He's cool.
The moment I saw him, I was like, this character looks like dog shit. What is this character? He's like a bad, like, reject character from Bleach. And I was like, fucking hell.
I was gonna watch Bleach, and I know exactly what you mean.
I was gonna say he's like a bad rejected early version of Squall, but
yeah, exactly. It's just like, oh god, this is so bad. But
the best thing that from Final Fantasy VII even has the same voice.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, that's true.
The best thing that Kingdom Hearts has given us is Dearly Beloved, like and Yoko Shimomura's music.
Oh, the music in Kingdom Hearts. That's the thing that even Jeff over here will say. Like, Kingdom Hearts music is fantastic.
Oh yeah,
I mean,
definitely.
Just playing through it, all the boss themes and all these emotional beats. Even like at the end, there's like a part where they're stranded in darkness, of course, and then the world, like the door to the light shows up, and it's cheesy. But then they play the orchestrated version of Dearly Beloved. It's like, oh, never mind. I think
it's like, my heart is melting. I don't want it to.
My heart is exploding because Yoko Shimomura is one of the greatest composers ever.
Correct.
I'm not afraid to say this. I cried like a fucking baby when that Smash trailer happened, and I'm like, I don't want to. Sora's a little. I hate this guy now, but man, that was a good trailer.
I remember going to the preview event for Kingdom Hearts 3. It was in LA where we first got to play it, and like sitting down and putting the headphones on, and then like going into the game and Dearly Beloved playing over the title screen. I remember just sitting there and feeling like overwhelmed with emotion of how much I love that song.
Yeah.
And then I started playing and I was like, what the fuck is going on? This nonsense. And then someone came over and gave me a sea salt ice cream popsicle. I was like, you want one of these? And I was like, hell yeah, I do. And it was incredible.
We were both there. We didn't know each other yet.
Yeah, we didn't know each other.
You were so much happier then.
I was blissfully unaware of it. Grub, tell us about hot video game, perhaps one of the Game of the Year contenders, Rise of the Golden Idol.
Yeah, with the travel, I had to put everything down. I brought my Steam Deck, which was an insane thing to do. It sat in my suitcase the whole time. But I, played a little bit before I left. It is the other thing I picked up when I got back. And I still, am really, really happy with it. I think that all of the extra sort of, the way the game works is you discover the words in the world by clicking on various things, and then you fill those words into the story to solve each of the crimes, the scenes. But each scene now also has several other things usually that you could fill in. Like I just did the auction, and it's like you need to figure out what was actually being auctioned off and who it got sold to. And I like the process of figuring these things out. Makes me feel more aware of what's happening in the story overall. But also helps lead to that final solution, and then to the actual chapter. Each chapter has several scenes in it. They want you to solve that as well and say, here's what's happened in the story, and it makes it easier for me to remember all that stuff. And I'm into the lore. I really like this universe that they've built here, where these all these people are going after the golden idol for its magical capabilities, and now it's been around for a long time and it's been lost, and people like don't even know if it's real or if it ever was magical in the first place. But there's some people who do know, and they're aware, and like there's this the characters from the first game are like looming over it. Like I don't know if they're gone and dead for real. Maybe they are. I'm still like figuring that stuff out. But I just like, if one of them pops up, I'm gonna pop. And when I see the golden idol do its thing, I'm gonna be so excited. But playing the game, it's still just that game where I love this genre of letting me play games in my head, and every single scene is just as fun as the last. There's some really standout ones, but I have enjoyed every single solve so far, and I just appreciate the game like trust the player enough to do this. I think I think it'd be very hard to be like to make these games in the first place, to be like, can this work? Are enough people going to be able to like take what they see here, what I put in here, all these clues, are they going to understand what I'm trying to get at? And it turns out, a lot of people not just like get it, they really enjoy that, and I'm definitely one of those people. I'm
interested in whether you think that people who haven't played Case can enjoy Rise, given how much of the lore and characters you love about it. I personally think that people who have just like a basic desire or a interest or like of puzzle games will enjoy it, but how much do you think that that lore and character element plays into the overall enjoyment?
I think it will work this way. If you just want to be on the zeitgeist and want to go play this one first, you can do that and you'll enjoy it. And if you want more of that game, you can then go back to Case, and I think it would work like as a two-way street of, all these characters that were in here that they're referencing, there's actually a history there, and now I'm getting to discover it in the reverse direction, because it is like, it feels like that stuff just exists. It feels like a real history, like in the backdrop to what you're doing in the gameplay. And so kind of piecing that stuff together as you learn it yourself can work in any direction. So I think it would be completely fine. And I would almost be interested to hear what someone who did that would think about all of it.
It might be me because I never played the first game, but I want to check this out. I do have a question about that kind of magic stuff you're talking about, because I played Obra Dinn and I liked it. One of my complaints was that it's this game where I'm supposed to use logic to solve mysteries, but there's also this magic element that obviously exists outside the realm of logic. So I sometimes kind of bristle against that, because I'm like, well, if magic's involved, then anything can happen, and I don't really know how to account for that.
Right.
Does that sort of impact your detective skills in this game?
No, because you're almost always dealing with, like, people want to use the magic to do things, and this is more of the case so far, because I'm at a part in Rise where a lot of that stuff has not come about yet. They're still trying to piece together the golden idol, but in Case, it was always, maybe they're going to use this statue to do something magical, but you will have pieced together how it works. There is a logic to the statue itself, and you figuring that out is part of piecing together the logic. And then the motivations, the actions, the things that people do to one another are all so human and recognizable that will be the real meat of solving any case. And so you should not have many stumbling blocks when it comes to that.
I think the concern...
Real quick, just looking at the how long to beat, Case of the Golden Idol is 6 hours on average. So like these are relatively short games.
Yeah, I think you'll solve each scene in about 30 minutes, 45 minutes. Yeah.
I think the concern that like Mitch, you're kind of speaking about is it harkens back to old school like point and click adventure games where nonsense is kind of factored into it. The whole like, combine the rubber chicken with the rope to make a pulley kind of like nonsense logic. It doesn't have that as far as I know where I am anyway. Like Rob said, the magic has its own logical kind of set of rules that you can apply, and the way you kind of figure it out is by factoring the motivations of characters and that kind of stuff like that. So it's not like you very rarely will be like, there was no chance I could have guessed that, and the only way forward was for me to read something. The solution is logical for the most part. So,
right. And you're gonna
I don't think you have to worry about
you're gonna pick up on stuff like just looking at the scene and kind of like I never played much LA Noire, but I know the whole thing is like this character is making a face and you're supposed to read something into that. These characters are making one face because it's a static scene, and if you're like, I feel like this means this, you're probably right. you're probably right, and you should follow that thread through and see if it like leads to something that some discovery, and it probably does.
No Dan Reichert in this game, though.
Listen, as far as I'm aware, blissfully no.
Yeah.
A lot of things you say about it, though. I feel maybe I'm off base. I feel like there's some Ace Attorney DNA in here where like it's sort of standalone and like there's magic, but logic prevails. Like the magic is kept in check.
Yeah. I feel like it's less like magic weirdness focused in the Ace Attorney series even.
Oh,
right. But like Ace Attorney will do stuff like, there's people who could summon the spirits of the dead and they turn into them. And like sometimes I can throw you off, but again, there's a logic to that they explain.
Right, even that it's just like, well, now that person is just here. We're just going to talk to them like they're a normal person, you know?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
Yeah, I highly recommend everyone, if you have a interest in puzzle games, checks out Rise or even Case. Like I think that
and the DLC
some
for
of the
Case,
yeah, I think they're some of the coolest,
they
most
are
fun games that
on Netflix included with your account right now, so you don't need to buy them. You have them if you have Netflix.
Yeah.
We know Mike has that because he watched the Tyson fight and he was very enthralled by it.
I recently found out I do not have Netflix. I was trying to watch something on Netflix recently, and I was like, "Do I have Netflix?" I hope I don't, because I haven't tried logging in.
Yeah, you don't watch TV, so I'd be very surprised if you did.
No. Last night I was watching an old documentary from the 90s about dinosaurs. I'm like, this info probably isn't up to date, but I like how it's from the 90s.
We're going to take a quick break and then come back with some news. And we are back. I have some terrible news for everyone. I turned on my Xbox Series X and went to my full library. I do not own NBA Jam on Fire
Buddy, I'm
Edition.
sorry.
I'm devastated.
Mm.
I don't know if there's no way for me to purchase it anymore, obviously.
That's not
I
very
feel like
boom
I should-
shakalaka.
I wonder if I could, I'm going to send an email and see if, someone at Xbox can ask Phil Spencer to just have it assigned to my account.
Right.
Be like, hey, man, can
Push
you
the
just,
button, Phil.
I know you can
Yeah.
do this, Phil. Now, there's clearly no other way I can play NBA Jam.
Nope.
No.
Definitely can't do it on
Sadly.
that new Mac Mini or anything.
Nope.
Not at all. No way. But if you see me playing NBA Jam in the future, don't ask any questions about it. That's all I'm saying. All right. We're gonna go over
You
to
see
the
a
news.
pig, you best not squeal.
News coming from GamesIndustry.biz, VGC, Kotaku, Polygon, and more. We're gonna kick it over to our resident news pervert, Jeff Grubb.
That's me. Let's talk about the news. Yes. All right, let's start here with The Witcher 4 has entered full-scale production. CD Projekt says CD Projekt has confirmed that production on the fourth Witcher game, codenamed Polaris, has officially begun. The game is currently the furthest along in development among all of the company's projects and is entering its most intensive phase. Game director Sebastian Kalimba expressed excitement about the game's progress and thanked the team for their hard work. Yeah, I mean, how long has it been since Cyberpunk came out?
It was 2020.
4 years? Yeah, 4 years.
Yeah.
Right?
It's about time they released a new game. Now they did Phantom Liberty. That seemed to be taking a lot of their time.
Well, they've expanded a whole bunch.
Yes, they
as well,
have.
right? Because they opened a American office and set up a different bunch of teams and. Well,
I can't believe Witcher 3 was 9 years ago. Because, again, we've been here for a while now, but it's like, wow, games have not changed that much in 9 years, huh?
Yeah,
9 years used to be forever.
Witcher 3 is definitely one of those games that I think about where it's like at that point they just stopped being like, oh, if a game was before this, it's old. It's like, no, Witcher 3 is just going to be sort of that one of those timeless games now, and everything after that is in that zone as well. So
it's like Skyrim, basically.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yes. That all kind of started around that time and then kind of built up to 2015, 2016, where every game now coming out was like, you could release that with a few changes in 2024 and no one would really bat an eye. Yeah. So, I mean, God, making a big sequel to Witcher 3 seems like a tall task. I don't know. What do you guys expect from it? What do you want from it?
Well, I suspect that Ciri is probably going to have a bigger focus here and maybe just straight up be the main character. There's that teaser image that has that cat medallion or Link's medallion, which apparently is probably a reference to her wearing a skull with a cat medallion in the books or something like that. You played as her a little bit in 3, and even the story at the end of 3 very much kind of was wrapping up Geralt's story in a lot of ways and sort of setting the stage for Ciri. So that would probably be an interesting place to take it. But, otherwise, I don't think you have to change too much gameplay-wise or even formula-wise from what Witcher 3 was doing. It seemed to hit pretty well.
Do you think they can move on from Geralt?
It's difficult, right? Because there's so many reasons why that'll be hard for people. People who love Geralt. There's gonna, there's gonna be some other annoying aspects of shifting to the female protagonist these days, right?
Yes, and I for me, I think the smart, what I would love is a almost Metal Gear Solid 2 style thing where it's you play as Ciri, but Geralt is there with you. You don't get to play as him for the majority of the game, but you get to witness why he's so cool from the outside looking.
I think that would
in.
work for them.
I would, but then those.
I think they'll kill Geralt in the first 3 hours with a golf club.
With a golf club, yes.
They should just have Abby do it. They should just put Abby
out of nowhere from the top rope.
God, they should have Abby going around and killing every beloved.
She's
sad dad.
She's like Jet Li in the one where she just goes through different dimensions, killing dads.
That's incredible. Yeah, I would love that.
Gosh, that would be incredible. Yeah, maybe they could do a dual protagonist thing, like Spider-Man 2, kind of that can work. It could be I don't know if I love that as much as just having the one, or the one with a little bit of a side thing here and there. I mean, it'd be nice if you could have Geralt be there and be important to the story, but not necessarily be the player character.
I think
it's difficult.
It depends on on the fiction, because like with Spider-Man, it clearly works because Miles is being built up as this next generation of Spider-Man, and like I'm not a Witcher guy because I'm just not a high fantasy guy in general. But it seems like that's kind of what's going on here, where Geralt is like training up Ciri or whatever is going on there. They have in the fiction built up both characters, so it wouldn't be a shock if you're doing dual protagonists or like mostly Ciri or whatever.
I feel like by the end of Witcher 3, she's pretty formidable as a like fighter and Witcher-esque character, as far as I know, because like they take on the Wild Hunt and win. So like,
she's got a lot of special. She has a dimension portal stuff.
Yeah,
right?
I want them to old Snake Geralt and make him like older. I know that there's weird shit that with the Witcher's, like blood and shit like that prevents them from aging. I think it is something crazy like that. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting it wrong.
It's stem cells,
right.
Or oil of Ole. But like, I would love to see like a older, wiser kind of like out of the action, almost old man, Kratos or Logan or whatever version of it, where you play as Ciri. Or a Ciri-like figure, or even like a completely new person, and then like at some point, like Geralt has to be like, this kid's not listening. I know, I'll send her to someone else, and then like that's when Ciri appears through a portal and is like, "What's up? I'm the old, apprentice. Let me show you how things are done."
Apparently, the voice actor for Geralt, Doug Cockle, like has already said, like, "Oh yeah, I'm coming back, but like I'm not going to be the main character." And I mean, if it's not Geralt, it's got to be Ciri.
Yes.
It's not like you're going to bring in some third person. It's not going to be Raiden.
Yeah, witches can't have kids, can they?
Witchers are very sterile, I believe. I think the bits don't work.
We can't even have like
one thing I know about Witchers. Yes,
that's why they have so much unprotected sex constantly.
Yeah, Yennefer's having a great time.
Yeah.
You guys know a lot about Witcher's penis and balls.
Sure do, Jeff.
Yeah.
Okay.
You're talking
to something to say about that?
Our defense, they are very happy to tell us about them.
Yep.
But yeah, I would love to see. I'm excited to see what the future of The Witcher is.
Yeah, I'm excited to go back to that. You think they just have Gwent again, or they try to do a new thing? We're going to get the Witcher's version of Tetra Master or whatever.
I feel like they bring back Gwent and add some like new fucking
Gwent 2
take on like random pulls and like shit like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It'll be card packs for sure.
It won't be better than Queen's Blood. That's all I know.
No, it won't be.
Queen's
Blood rules.
Okay, Sony is planning a new PlayStation handheld. It has been claimed by Bloomberg. Sony's reportedly developing a new PlayStation portable capable of playing PlayStation 5 games. The device is in early stages of development and could take years to release. We're talking 3, maybe 4. The console aims to expand Sony's reach and compete with Nintendo in the portable gaming market. It doesn't have Pokemon, so good luck with that. It could build on the recently launched PlayStation Portal, which streams PS5 games via the cloud. Just recently it started doing that, actually. The upcoming console would face competition, obviously, from Valve and a bunch of others. They're going to, they'll still be using AMD. So, that's going to take some time for those chips to get powerful and efficient enough to make that happen. Yeah, I get why they're researching this and looking into it and probably getting pretty serious about it, but the story does mention this might never come out.
Yeah, and also like the timeline is weird, right? Like if they say a few years, does that mean it launches like alongside a new console?
I think so.
Yeah,
yes.
And that seemed weird to me too, but so with each of these consoles, the era of cross-generation games, like that transition period is longer and longer. To the point with a PlayStation 6, like, I don't know if there will ever be PlayStation 6 exclusive games, right? Like, almost all of those, at least for like the first 4 years, are going to also play in PlayStation 5. So it's fine if your portable system, quote unquote, is a PlayStation 5. It'll still play the same games as a PlayStation 6.
Right? Are we all reading this as they're making a separate device that is PlayStation focused potentially, or do you think this is perhaps the first indication that the next iteration of the PlayStation is more like what Nintendo's strategy is, and there's less of a boundary between?
I mean, I guess it's not impossible but I just think that Sony really needs to have a PS6 as their next device as well, because that's what the audience expects.
Yeah, I think maybe it could be a 2 SKU approach, similar to what Microsoft is currently doing this generation. But all right, so there's a lot to unpack here because the chips that are available in mobile devices right now are not nearly powerful enough to run PS5 games at PS5 quality.
Right.
And you can't they could theoretically, it would be a really dumb thing to do, is if they put out a game that runs PS5 games but at a lower quality, because that doesn't exist right now within their pipeline. Developers would need to make entirely new versions of games in order to run on that chipset if it was lower in power than PS5. So PS5 needs to be the baseline if it's running PS5 games. That I don't know when we're gonna get to that. So that would be wild.
I know people are like, it's not, PS5's not that powerful. I'm just we are.
It's not compared to like a mainstream gaming PC in 2024.
But compared to the mobile chips we're talking about, especially
compared
x86,
to even like the ROG Ally.
Yes.
Yeah, like
I get what Apple's doing with ARM. Yeah, for sure. But that's different.
That is what makes things interesting, because that is what Microsoft is absolutely going to be doing for their handheld.
Yes.
Because they are the masters of backwards compatibility in the console space right now. Windows is also getting good at backwards compatibility. So Microsoft kind of has that locked down. They'll be able to figure it out, especially because they have developers making Series S versions, which, already lower resolution, lower frame rates, whatever the case may be, that could theoretically run on a handheld within a couple of years. I have no idea how Sony would pull this off, if they even can, within a couple of years. So maybe it is like, maybe the PS6 also transitions to ARM. Like maybe the ARM chips get good enough and then they put an ARM chip in this like handheld. I'm really curious to see how they could pull it off.
I think it's important that they do all this R&D for this, because we're going to need one of these eventually. It's going to be difficult maybe to do with the tech we have now, or even in a few years. But like 10 years from now, if you're in the video game space making hardware, you're going to have a handheld or hybrid SKU. I think Switch has just kind of made that whole thing too popular to ignore. It's why Microsoft is investing in it. So many PC manufacturers are investing in it.
It is. I mean, like they're chasing Nintendo again, kind of like it's.
I think they are
ish all over.
To a degree, they're chasing Nintendo. I don't think they are. I feel like it's not entirely Nintendo chase. I feel like what Nintendo did was they figured out where the market was going before anyone else did and reacted to that. I think now we're at the point where the other major, platform holders are now in a situation where they can't ignore where the market is going and where the demand is. And obviously, as other companies lean into it, like Valve leaning into it, and
Valve proved that you could follow. Like I think Nintendo obviously burned the path, and then Valve was like, "We're going to try it too," and they fall. I'm like, "Oh wait, if they could do it, we can do it." They didn't think they could do it if only Nintendo was doing it, because they had learned they couldn't follow Nintendo.
And that's a good way of putting it. Yeah. That's more of what I was trying to get at, is that Nintendo saw where things were going for them because their handhelds were doing so well and they were struggling with the console, so they leaned into the handheld, and they were like, there's already a trend happening slowly but surely with handhelds getting more powerful, and handheld PCs were starting to become a thing. Nintendo kind of just made the first really elegant mainstream device, and other companies saw that they could follow in that trend here. And I think they've been burned enough times, and they're smart enough now to not have a Wii style situation where they're just rapidly rushing to, push out their Wii competitor, their Wii remote competition. I think that's why we're hearing rumblings of this maybe a few years in the future, because they're actually thinking about how this could happen, because also an even bigger risk than just tacking on motion control to your existing system.
It's interesting. If this does become an avenue they chase, I'm interested to see how they approach the kind of attitude shift that needs to happen towards PlayStation to make that possible. Because right now, obviously, they're laying the groundwork by making a lot of their major titles PC, availability and compatible. But from a general kind of overall approach, I feel like they need to be a little more platform agnostic going forward. If they want to have a device that is smaller and relies on a more easily available and publicly accessible architecture. They need to make sure that the PlayStation fan base is okay with the idea of their game coming out and being immediately playable on another device that might not be the core PlayStation. And I feel like that's going to be a major challenge because
they will struggle with that.
I mean, like the PlayStation, like even today, like everyone starts moaning and complaining about a game that's on PC too close to its release date on a PlayStation. So that's going to be a difficult one.
Yeah, and I think that audience, even if they are okay with that, they'll bristle at the idea of what you were saying earlier about, hey, this thing's still just going to be on PS5s. I just bought a PS6. Why am I buying a PS6? But they just got to realize it's, the main difference between the PS4 and the PS5 is one has an SSD. Yes, it's more powerful, but the thing that is really making a difference is the SSD. The PS6, PS5 are almost probably going to have very similar SSDs. They're not going to need to update that tech all that much coming out of the PS5. And so the difference is going to be even smaller. And I think for Sony, the trouble with this strategy, because you want to have a handheld because it can get growth in different audiences than buy a box set go under a TV. And Nintendo has proven that audience has a lot of like women in it. And Sony's not necessarily making a lot of games, I think, that appeal to a broader audience. And I think that, when Nintendo's having success there and they're selling a lot of Mario Kart and Pokemon and Animal Crossing and attracting a different audience, can Sony make games like that? I don't know. And so like, they might get they'll get growth there, but it's not going to be the growth that they're expecting. So they will still need to have a multi-platform approach that very much encompasses PC for sure.
That's a good point, because if you're trying to get more of an audience, you do need to appeal to a wider demographic. And let's be real, a lot of what PlayStation has been for the past decade now has been, as we call them, the sad dad games. The like open world games. Kind of what I was describing with Days Gone at the top. Days Gone is almost I made this a little harsh, but almost like a parody of a PlayStation game in that everything people complain about PlayStation games was put into there, and they need to move away from that. I think they are doing good things with like Spider-Man is a little more fun than that. And then obviously we had Astrobot, but also Astrobot, you look at who they're selling to, and they're selling that to PS5 owners. It's not selling particularly well with PS5 owners.
It's not a breakout hit. Yeah, it's
right.
It's very successful 3D platformer, and that's it.
Right. It's doing all right within the genre, but it is not like overnight that 10 million selling hit that PlayStation wants with these games, where the games that look like prestige TV constantly sell that number to that audience. So it's a difficult situation that they're in. I'm curious to see how they change their output, especially now they don't have stuff like Japan Studio anymore.
Well, PlayStation knows what women want, and that is from software games. And From Software parent Kadokawa confirms Sony has sent it a letter of intent to acquire it. Kadokawa, From Software's parent company, has received a letter of intent from Sony expressing interest in acquiring the company. Talks between Sony and Kadokawa were previously reported by Reuters. Kadokawa acknowledges that the initial letter of intent has been sent to them, but emphasizes that no decision has been made yet.
I love how threatening this sounds.
We have sent you a letter of what we intend to do to you. Yeah, we're going to fuck you up. Boy, if I had a bunch of money and we had a console and had to like spend it to like make that console a better place for people to play games, I would want From Software too. So
that's
if I could afford to buy From Software, I would 100% buy From Software.
Exactly, yeah.
I will say that's absolutely not why this is happening. This is Sony, the anime company in 2024, wanting to acquire Kadokawa.
Kadokawa's got a bunch more going on, right? Yeah, I'm completely unfamiliar with Kadokawa, so enlighten me in the audience.
They are anime and manga at this point. Like, they are one of the companies that is that stuff. And so Sony is trying to acquire them. They already have, in terms of distribution, Crunchyroll and Funimation. Well, Funimation now just is Crunchyroll. They own Aniplex, one of the biggest like I guess you'd say publishers of anime. So they are like just doubling down and slowly getting all of the anime.
Yeah, the games portion of their business it's minuscule compared to pretty much everything. Yeah, they have like From, Spike Chunsoft, I think Acquire, and those are the big ones. Yeah. And they have, I think it's like a 66% ownership share in From, but like that's still a significant part of it. But the rest of it, like their publication of manga and like book material and their animation and like streaming ability on that kind of stuff is immense. Like it's huge.
And in a recent earnings report and a conversation with investors, the CEO that's not Herman Holst of PlayStation said that they wanted to lean more on the anime IPs that they had. So that's like
that would be a way to do it.
This is the strategy. Yeah. Like that is a huge so them like doubling down on the strategy is not too surprising to hear.
But regardless, they would own From Software, at least like most of it, and like what would be the result of that? I mean, would they be under as much scrutiny as Microsoft was to certain things? Would they feel a lot of pressure want to release these games multi-platform?
A Japanese company buying a Japanese company, I just don't. It's
I feel like
I don't know.
It doesn't have the kind of like mainstream juice around it to warrant that kind of scrutiny, and also like I don't think people consider, Dark Souls or whatever From makes to be on the level of something like a Call of Duty, which, if we're being honest, was the main kind of spark that lit that kind of legal battle. But it does have implications on people who care about video games. There is a very real possibility that Sony locks up the From Software games. It would be in there.
It's possible.
Yeah, but does that? However, would that make sense if you bought the company that owns Elden Ring? Like you're going to make Elden Ring exclusive?
That's
no.
You have to think of it in this. The way I think of it is like, hopefully Sony is smart enough to know that they have like an MLB situation here, where it's obviously MLB is like there's actual license issues that prevent them from like keeping it exclusive. But in a similar way, like the reason that's such a easy pill to swallow for them is because MLB is popular, so popular that anyone with any sort of kind of gaming device is going to be interested in buying that kind of thing if they have an interest in baseball. I think it's a similar thing where the universal nature of, or the broader interest around From Software's games mean that if they were to lock them up, I don't think that they would make enough of a benefit or enough of a gain in exclusivity to offset the potential it has for broader penetration. It would be stupid of them to do that.
Yeah,
that's not to say they wouldn't do it. No, but it would be very stupid.
The possibilities there, but that's kind of what I got at when this news was first announced and we were talking about the other day. Was I don't think there's brand association there. It's not like with Insomniac, where Insomniac made some games for other systems, but primarily they were like the Ratchet and Clank studio, and also, in more recent times, the Spider-Man studio for PlayStation. That is something where it makes sense to make them a PlayStation developer for their consoles and also PC. Whereas with this, it's like they could lock some of that stuff down, whether it be from FromSoft or Acquire or whoever, but because those games are associated with being multi-platform, or even with other systems, Acquire stuff, they're deeply on like Nintendo consoles. They made Mario and Luigi Brothership, right? So I think it's going to be one of those situations where, like you were saying with MLB, they know that it's smarter to just do the numbers, and if it just makes more sense to keep that stuff multi-platform or wherever they currently are, they'll just keep doing that and then just reap the rewards of it.
The other thing that complicates the situation is in the case of like Activision developed and published their own games, whereas with From Software, a lot of their games are published by other companies. Like the Elden Ring is published by Bandai Namco, and Sekiro is published by Activision. Dark Souls is also a Bandai Namco joint, so it would be tricky for them to kind of like snap that up. And
I think like Bandai Namco probably has like right of first refusal on future Dark Souls games, right?
Like, exactly. And same for like Elden Ring. Like if there's more Elden Ring happening, you best believe that Bandai Namco has already locked down their kind of like stake in that. And for them to be like, oh, Elden Ring's exclusive to PlayStation now, that would be a monumental thing because they would have to negotiate that with Bandai Namco, and I imagine Bandai Namco is not going to make that easy or cheap on them. The only thing they really have control over is Bloodborne, which is a Sony property, and Demon Souls. But like they're in a position now to, if they wanted to do something with that already, they could do it. They just don't have an interest in doing it right now.
Yep. And it's not happening. Just as a reminder, Bloodborne not happening.
Damn.
Yep, Virtua Fighter 5 is getting a Steam remaster called Virtua Fighter 5 Revo.
Let's go.
Is this an update of a previous update, is my understanding?
Yeah, it's update of Final Showdown or whatever it's called.
Yeah, what's the lineage?
Ultimate Showdown is the news. Jeff, keep reading a little bit.
Okay, yeah, so let's keep reading. The remaster will have 4K visuals, updated textures, and rollback netcode for improved online play. Sega describes it as the ultimate edition of the classic 3D fighter. It will feature classic Virtua Fighter modes like arcade and rank match, custom online tournaments and leagues, and spectator mode. Sega's head of transmedia hinted that a new Virtua Fighter game is also in development.
And they hinted on the official Sega account. They were like, well, they had just a text document pulled up with the word Sega listed over and over, and they're like, spot the difference, and one of them was Sega, but the G was a 6. So they're clearly teasing that Virtua Fighter 6 is also a thing that will be happening. But yeah, what this is Virtua Fighter 5 came out a long time ago. It was a decently early
2006. God.
Yeah. Decently. Yeah. So like very early PS3 game, got a 360 version, got a few updates, eventually turned into Final Showdown in 2012. And then it got remade into Ultimate Showdown as a PS4 exclusive with their like kind of weird server-based netcode was their solution. So it was like an in-between of, as we call it, delay-based netcode and rollback. So this coming to Steam, it's getting that actual rollback that everyone wants. It's getting, spruced up a little bit. It's important that they are actually balancing it. It's the first time they're kind of touching the gameplay of Virtua Fighter 5 in a long time, because that remake that RGG did was just a remake of it. Otherwise played the same. I think there were a few like things with the engine that cause things to play out differently, but it's just really cool that they are going back and sort of, sprucing up Virtua Fighter 5, making it so much more accessible with rollback netcode, so like people can play across the world now, and maybe leading into a Virtua Fighter 6.
The world is just better when Virtua Fighter is a going concern. Like I'm so much happier when I look around and there's more Virtua Fighter happening. I just, early gaming memories of like Virtua Fighter being so important and like seeing.
And that's how we know you're old.
Yeah. What was it? Like there was one picture in a magazine. It might have been Virtua Fighter 2 or 3 of like, what's his name? Just like moving his jacket and the jacket physics. And I'm like, oh my God, they have jacket physics. It's all happening. So yeah, Virtua Fighter is important.
Yeah, I'm excited. I've not really played the game since I think that vanilla version came out on PlayStation 3. I really liked it. I remember thinking it was incredibly complex, but I'm certainly in the mood for that. Especially, I like Tekken 8, but some of its flashier elements sometimes almost get a little tiresome. Like I hate the super moves in Tekken 8, right? So a bit more boots to the ground fighting, I guess you could call it. Right? Boots to the ground fighting would be good. And like Sean said, I think it's great to release this, get people excited, refamiliarize them with Virtua Fighter leading up to the eventual release of a Virtua Fighter 6.
Yeah, and it's also just good to have more people in the space. Like Harada's been saying for a long time now that he, as one of the heads on the Tekken project, he wants more 3D fighters. Yeah. He wants like Virtua Fighter to come back and stuff. It's just maybe there hasn't been room for that in the public eye because they just see Virtua Fighter and Tekken. They're like, well, what's the difference? It's the same thing. They're very different in the way that they play when you actually like sit down with them. And so it's cool to have more of these out there.
Now bring back Fighters Mega Mix. I want to play that Daytona car again.
Bring the Hornet,
The Hornet,
Bloody Raw.
Yeah.
All the online pervs.
For all the online pros, they'll be in the new Dead or Alive that we'll never get.
Stalker 2 is getting its first post-release patch during the week to come. We didn't talk about it, so no one's been playing Stalker 2, right? I'm going to start.
I haven't played it. No. Yeah.
Oh.
How you finding it?
It is a Stalker game, which is really, really great, and also kind of, if you're not ready for the frustrations that come with it being Stalker, it can be off-putting, but it is very, very classically Stalker, which is very unique. There's very few other games that have that kind of ambience and atmosphere and that kind of ruthlessness in how it treats you. It's a zero handholdy game to the point where I had to shift my mentality when I started playing it, because I'm so used to the modern conveniences and the language of video game being so modern. Like I got into the opening section is like you have to move to a certain space, and at one point you're in the sewers, and I was like, I cannot see a fucking thing. Where am I going? And I was like stuck in there for a good 5 minutes because the game didn't outright be like, hey man, you've got a flashlight on this button. And then eventually I realized, oh, there's a button here with a flashlight. And I was like, oh, I got to realign my thinking to remember that this game is going to give me nothing. And I need to like be very vigilant about it. But once you get into that space again, it kind of like it is enjoyable. Also, it does this, I don't know if it's just me, but I think this is partly why I didn't find the flashlight. I think it does tell you, but it does this insane thing where the tutorial prompts, like, they fucking come at you like a Star Wars like crawl.
All right.
Like it fades in, and then like as you move, it goes back out, and like it is the most insane thing I have ever seen in my life.
It's like a tutorial jump scare.
Yeah.
It genuinely is like the Star Wars like opening crawl where it like comes at you like a ship coming at you and then like fades away again. I cannot understand the thinking behind it one bit. And I thought it was a bug. But then it kept happening, and I was like, oh no, this was a stylistic and artist choice, and it is insane behavior.
Wow.
So that's the kind of like the entire thing.
Press X to make the dead speak.
Exactly.
Anyway, this update's it aims to address various crash issues, progression fixes, gameplay and balance adjustments, visual fixes, soft lock fixes, and UI improvements. There have been a lot of reports of bugs, especially performance issues as well. How's it running for you? Probably playing on the 4090?
It is, yeah. I'm playing on a 4090. It runs mostly well. I feel like depending on your setup, if you go into town, that is when it really puts like your rig to its for its paces. Some people I've spoken to are like, oh yeah, it crippled my machine when it got there, and my machine is like mostly fine. I think they have optimized it. It's a weird situation, but like I feel like the safest bet if you're interested in this game, playing it, and you don't really care about like, you know, having the bleeding edge technology running it, is probably to play it on a console where it's a little more like stabilized, if you know what I mean. I feel like it gets a bit wacky when you're on a PC and it's got
in
like
Game Pass, right?
Yeah, it's in Game Pass. Like I played it on Xbox, and Xbox immediately was a little more stable, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
But my 4090 as well, my rig was perfectly fine with it. It just was like, it had that hitchiness to it that I was like, oh, this is very Stalker, but also some people just they can't abide that.
Sure.
So if you're one of those people who like when the frame drops, you're like, oh my god, I have to debug everything, and it like stresses you out. Maybe don't play Stalker on PC because it will like set off your ADHD around that. It is pure Eurojank top to the bottom.
Maybe at the very least, like especially if you're playing on Game Pass, maybe just wait for a couple more patches here, because this game is coming in hot. And like, look, if any game has ever had a reason to come in hot, it was this one. But nonetheless,
it is very impressive that they put out a game under the conditions that they put it out under, and it's this good.
Yeah, exactly. But the patches are definitely coming in hot and heavy. I know over on VGC, Jordan talked about at some point during the review period, there was a quote unquote patch that was like 106 gigabytes.
It was the entire game again.
Exactly. They just like put out a new master version of the game, basically, that they pushed out to everyone, because
it was
sometimes
crazy.
that's what you do in development, and normally that's a thing that happens much earlier in development. So clearly something's going on there where they are kind of building the airplane as it's landing here. So yeah, maybe if you're not in a rush, just wait a little bit.
I
fired up.
I imagine it under the conditions that they were working under, it wasn't as easy to run like optimization and compatibility testing for like all the, because when you make a game like this, you have to test it on so many different configurations of devices and potential, and it's probably not as easy as and for them as it is for maybe others would be, and others have it hard in the best times anyway.
Yeah.
Nintendo Switch eShop and online services are ending in China in 2026. Nintendo Switch eShop and all other related network services will be closed down in China on March 31st, 2026. On May 15th, 2026, players will no longer be able to download games, redeem codes, or purchase DLC. The Nintendo Switch was launched in China in 2020. Been running for the last several years.
Why is this happening?
Yeah, why is it happening?
So yeah, I tried to figure out if there was a stated reason. Doesn't seem to be. Obviously, Switch is at the end of its life. Nintendo's not saying why. Now, when you are a foreign company working in China, you have to work with companies like Tencent. You have to go through all of the very, very, very Byzantine regulation. And I would imagine that is costly to the point where having a stated end date ready to go is probably like, oh, this is a smart thing. Yeah. We need to just get out of China as soon as we can. We'll have the next thing ready to go, but the current thing needs to get out of there so we don't have to keep maintaining that because it's not cost effective. But they're going all out. Like, so, if I'm reading this right, I'm going to read the machine translated from the nintendoswitch.com.cn page here. The owner of each activated Nintendo Switch game console that is in normal use in accordance with the Nintendo Switch terms of use can log into the WeChat account used by the game console, limited to one, to use a game claim program to receive up to 4 free redemption codes for downloadable Nintendo games or utility software. The list of eligible claims is as follows: Super Mario Bros. U Deluxe, Super Mario Odyssey, Mario Kart 8, Super Mario Party, Mario Tennis Aces, Yoshi's Handmade World. There's a whole bunch more here, but
Handmade World.
Yeah, that's the translation.
Hell of a way to go out, at least.
Yeah, Kirby of the Stars, Nova Alliance. It's a hell of a name. Some of the Pokemon games. Let's Go Pikachu. Let's Go Eevee. Let's Go Ibrahimovic. Is how this thing translated it.
Let's Go Ibrahimovic.
I'm surprised they would even have Let's Go in China because Pokemon Go is banned in China.
Yeah. Odd. Yeah, right. It's odd, and I think that this is like more about maybe they just want to like have an end date for their deal with Tencent.
Yes, this is probably a re-upping your license juncture where they're like, no, we're good.
Right, exactly. And so, Tencent is the company they work with. That's why it's WeChat. That is their local publisher. And you know how like people complain about the 30% cut for using stores in the rest of the world. That cut in China is like 80% because you got to give like 35% to like the publisher and then like another like 45% to the stores. It's massive. So
yeah, that's what I was going to ask about. We don't have the numbers, but I was wondering, is it maybe just not profitable for them to be in China right now?
It probably was, and they can like see like the bar going down on the bar graph, and they're like, by 2026, this is going to cross down into the red. So let's just cut it off now and have a plan to get out and make sure that we're in compliance with all of the deals that we have with Tencent. And so that means 2026. These are my guesses. I'm sure there's more complications to it than what we realize. I might even reach out to Daniel Ahmad and ask him specifically what he thinks is happening here.
What do you think this does? Do you reckon this just means like paves the way for people just to like homebrew the shit out? I assume they're doing everything already. Like they probably have that situation going, but do you think it will speed up the initiative to kind of like create other opportunities to access these services?
Yeah, I mean, you mean like to emulate the Nintendo Switch online services?
Yeah.
Yes, for sure, because there's a community that like loves to do that shit. They have cracked that 3DS stuff open to the point where you just put in a different DNS into your 3DS and you can get back
3DS
online.
3DS and Wii U are back online through homebrew efforts. It's
exactly.
Really cool.
So yes, that'll speed it up a little bit, and that I'm sure those people were already like sniffing around this, being like, hey, we'll be ready when Nintendo is ready to stop doing that stuff.
They gotta be careful though, because with everything that happened with Yuzu and Ryujinx and everything like that, Nintendo's clearly on the prowl for like.
But hasn't
projects
traditionally been relatively unsuccessful in China?
Everyone's been all these console manufacturers have been relatively unsuccessful. So there were laws against releasing consoles in China for a very, very, very long time. Those got lifted, but then tons of regulation about, can you release a game in China? Well, it's got to get approved by the government before you can release it in China. And so there's still a lot of hurdles, which is all that stuff eats into the cost of, or eats into the profits. And again, I think a lot of that leads to, but China's still a massive market you can't ignore.
Right.
So Nintendo's
That's why
not
Nintendo, they were there for a long time, because once some of that
IQ,
stuff changed a little bit or whatever, they had the IQ brand, which was just Nintendo, but I believe IQ was their subsidiary.
Yeah, it was manufactured in China locally, domestically. Yes, exactly.
Yeah, so you would have like just a Game Boy Advance SP, and it came out a little bit after we got it, but it was just branded completely differently.
And I think
they had some weird stuff to go around.
Like the N64 IQ was just like it was basically a plug and play device, and because it was like there was no cartridge slot, it made it easier for them to sell, because that was not technically a console; it was this toy. So there was always ways that they would try to get around it, and they had some success in China with that stuff, but nothing really to write home about. All these companies saw the writing on the wall of China being the biggest gaming market here over time, and they're trying to be ready for that, but it's not been easy. And you do have to partner with a local company, and they take up most of the money, and it's a problem. All right, last couple of stories here. Another Donkey Kong Classic has joined Nintendo Switch Online.
Why is this headline phrased like this? I picture you leaning into Mike Minai's ear, sir. Another Donkey Kong Classic has joined Switch Online.
It's like that George Bush meme.
Yes.
Yeah, this is that headline. I remember I copied this one from VGC, so I don't know, but the Donkey Kong Land 2, after they just released Donkey Kong Land 1, and I still see people being like, "Oh, these are just the ports of the SNES games." It's like, no, they have a ton of original stuff in them. These are different games.
But although oddly, there is also a
Donkey Kong Country.
Donkey Kong Country for the Game Boy Color.
Yeah,
right. No, those are ports. Donkey Kong Land is somewhat different.
Yep,
it's bespoke. It's probably more interesting because of that. Gosh, I was so frustrated that we're getting these Donkey Kong Land games before we have Donkey Kong 94 on NSO. Now, my big worry... No, it's not. My big worry when they just announced Donkey Kong Land 1 last week was like, oh my God, they're going to like dole these out over the course of 3 months, and it's the only NSO games we're going to get. At least we seem to be going through these Donkey Kong Land games pretty quickly. I'm sure we'll get 3 next week.
Yep. Fair enough. It's I like those Donkey Kong Land games as interesting curiosities. They were surprisingly good. It is very weird to see that got to get ACM. I can't remember what that stood for, but the Silicon Graphics machine, like animated computer or whatever stuff that they did, like scrunched down to work on an original Game Boy. That was always very weird to see.
Yeah.
All right, last story. An official Metroid Prime trilogy art book is up for pre-order at Amazon. Metroid Prime 1 through 3, a visual retrospective, which is a 212-page hardcover art book covering the original Metroid Prime trilogy, is releasing in summer 2025. Sketches. It looks very cool. Nintendo is working with Piggyback, I think is the name of the company, to make this. It's like an official partnership with Nintendo. Very cool. Hey, what do you think this means about, like, listen, we know Metroid Prime 4 Beyond is coming.
Say it, coward. Say it.
Listen, 2 and 3, I know they're just sitting there. They're done. They're just sitting there.
Just like this Zelda blowout we're going to have any day
a little bit different than the Zelda blowout. This one is real.
TwistedVoxel.com had a story saying that, Metroid Prime 2 was allegedly planned for a Switch release in early 2025. I mean, why the hell not? Like you said, we did the first one. These 2 are probably done. You're releasing Metroid Prime 4 later. Now, this art book isn't exactly the most smoke in the world, but it's a little bit of smoke.
And it's like, at the time when I was talking about Metroid Prime 1, at the time, it was like, and 2 or 3 are happening, but they're a little bit less of a remake. The Big Boy remake was 1, but they have 2 and 3, and they have it ready. And it's like, well, okay, they'll probably do that here pretty soon. It's like, well, Nintendo does things on their own time. And it's like, man, this is a long time. But it's like, no, they just wait until it makes sense for the game franchise itself. And look, if they did Pikmin 1 and 2 on the Switch, if they're going to do that, there's kind of like, why wouldn't they do Metroid Prime 2 and 3? Especially, again, they're done. Those games are finished, ready to be released on Switch. So we'll see. I think that if this thing comes out in summer, and Metroid Prime 4 Beyond comes out maybe a little bit after that, I could see early summer, late spring release for Metroid Prime 2 and 3 wouldn't surprise me. So
yeah, I've been thinking a little bit about where the Switch 2 is going to come out, because we're assuming it comes out next year, which all logic would dictate at this point. But because we don't have anything on it at this point at the end of November, it's almost assuredly not releasing in the first quarter of 2025.
No, probably not.
So that means, when would they release it? I guess it could be a little bit after that, but I feel like it's more likely that the Switch 2 comes out in fall of next year.
Oh, yeah.
Which would kind of line up, especially if it's backwards compatible. We're assuming, based on a variety of things that I've been tracking, Pokemon Legends ZA also in late summer at the earliest. Metroid Prime 4 feels like a fall game at this point as well. Maybe it comes out earlier and like that's their first half of the year big game. But also having the other Metroid Prime stuff, we're assuming that 2 and 3 were going to be a lead up to 4. Maybe that's how they fill out their 2025 in the lead up to the Switch 2.
I'm going to shoot my shot. Nintendo doesn't do much at the Game Awards, but they usually have a little something. I think at least, maybe both, but at least Metroid Prime 2 Remastered will be announced at the Game Awards.
Let's go.
I think Nintendo isn't going to do anything until Jeff Grubb pledges to shave his beard.
I will say, I think, Mike, maybe you're on to something, because that feels like the tier of announcement that Nintendo likes to do at the Game Awards. Like doing like Joker reveal for Smash. I feel like that's the tier of like, oh yeah, the niche audience who is watching this right now are really going to love this. So yeah, maybe it's like a 2 and 3 announcement.
What was the last Nintendo appearance at Game Awards?
You should have something. Again, sometimes it's just I feel like sometimes it's not even an announcement. It might just be a commercial.
I feel like everyone says Nintendo always has something, but they don't really. I think
they did in the past. I think Joker
other than Smash,
the big one.
Yeah, other than Smash and Reggie being on stage.
Well, they had like was it Shadow Drop, the Breath of the Wild DLC there one year. So like they have stuff. So
interesting.
I don't know. Have they done much in the Doug Bowser Nintendo of America era?
No, I think in the Doug Bowser era, nothing much has happened. So I'm not saying it's not possible. I just feel like when people say Nintendo have done stuff at the Game, I feel like we're remembering more.
That's not a guarantee of anything.
Yeah, remembering more.
I hope.
But if anyone can pull it off, it's Keighley. So
yep, I would love to. I would love to get Metroid Prime. Just Shadow Drop that night. That'd be great.
Yeah.
Okay.
I would not like that, actually. No, don't do that. Give us a lead time, please.
Okay, that does it for the headlines. I'm handing this show back over to you, Tam.
Hey, we got we got a Mario Brothers movie clip in 2022 at the Game Awards. There you go.
There you go.
Okay.
Geez, right.
Do we want to take a quick break before we come back to emails?
Let's do a quick break. Yep.
Yeah.
Breaky break time, everyone. See you soon.
I'm gonna order a burrito.
emails. Time. If
he was keeping you on your toes, Jeff, and you were just not ready.
Yeah, he was not. There we go. There we go. Emails. If you would like to send an email to us, you can use bombcast@giantbomb.com, and you might be able to have your email read out like Kyle in Scotland, who says, "Hi, bombers." Don't like that one. Has anyone watched any rugby? I feel like the American football fans amongst you might enjoy it, and the US is going to be hosting the World Cup after Australia. As you may know, New Zealand do a haka before rugby games. My question is, what would Giant Bomb do before competing in things as a team? So two-part question there. Anyone enjoy rugby? And what would our equivalent of the haka be?
Everything I know about it is from that movie Invictus.
Sure.
Pretty good.
I
mean, you could get away with it more than I could, to be fair.
Jeff, you're muted.
Ha!
I want to get away with doing
everyone
haka.
clip that certified boomer moment. Let's do it.
Thank God. You better not mess up the recording, you little.
No, the recording should be fine.
What's a haka?
So, what Polynesian people do, the like, ha, ha, ha. Like, no, you don't know that? That's not ringing a bell?
I don't want to see you doing that.
It's like a ceremonial, like Maori culture.
Yeah.
I don't know if that's. I guess it is technically a dance. I apologize if I'm speaking out of turn or incorrectly to anyone who is from the Maori culture background. It's very sacred to them, and every time I see it, it is pretty incredible. It's very moving, and it's a lot of like very like vigorous like stomping and aggressive movements, and it's very intimidating, but it comes from like a kind of idea of, I think, unity. But it's impressive. I like, it is emotionally quite moving whenever you see recently. I think it was used in a political context
in New Zealand, their parliament.
In New Zealand, So like, there's some sort of like bill going through, and immediately one of the politicians in there just decides to begin a haka as a kind of
protest,
act of protest, and it is unreal just to see people like just drop everything they're doing and just coordinate in a way that it's crazy.
A lot of people of that lineage are very good football players in American football, and one of my favorite players it comes from that. And I'm always like, man, I want to learn more about rugby, because I know they have a lot of rugby that they play there that's very popular in like New Zealand. Exactly.
But we should all dance like the Charlie Brown characters in the Christmas special in the background. That'll be our thing.
We should start every one of our events with doing the 100 nugget challenge. Like, we just,
oh my God.
Everyone has to eat 100 nuggets. All right, I'm sorry, Mike is dancing like a Charlie Brown character right now.
Yeah,
and I can tell he's very impressed with himself.
Am I the only one here who wouldn't die from the 100 nugget challenge? Like,
yes.
I feel like the rest of you will keel over instantly.
I feel like I could survive. I have eaten a one time, I believe it was 100 chicken wings.
Jesus,
I used to do that. I used to do that. That was just
it was 50. I did 50
school.
easily. I had 50. I was like, no problem. I could have eaten another 50.
Oh, I did 100 before. There was an all-you-can-eat place here. Quaker Steak and Lube. We would go crazy on that shit. They stopped.
Wait. What was it called?
Quaker Steak and Lube.
Quaker Steak and Lube.
So it was like originally a gas station, which is where the lube parts comes from.
You got lubricate.
Naturally.
Yeah, of course.
That's where you got your wings from.
Mike, you said that. I'm like, what's the problem? Like, in Quaker Steak and Lube.
Me too. Yeah. I'm so used to Quaker Steak and Lube. I'm like, what did I say?
Yeah.
Oh, right. I guess it does have the word lube in the title.
What if we, as an homage to the haka, had learned a version of it, but incorporated eating chicken nuggets into the haka?
I think that would be very respectful.
Aggressive movements to like eating chicken nuggets.
We gotta use Polynesian sauce.
That would go over very well.
Yeah. We'd do something like that. It'll be the most like aggressively pathetic thing you've seen a bunch of people do.
The gamer haka. Yeah.
I'll tell you what I'm gonna really want to do after dance eating 100 chicken nuggets is then play a rigorous sport.
Our next email comes from no one's listed here, so I'm just gonna read it out.
Yeah. By the way, these are the leftovers from last week. These are all new. Apologies if there's any.
Yeah, didn't have time to pick new emails, everybody.
Hi, are these repeats then?
No, they're not repeats. These did not get used.
Okay. Hi, Bomb Crew. With the Half-Life 2 20th anniversary happening, I was reminded of the first time I played the game as a teen. During the finale, when the gravity gun turns blue and you can use it against living enemies and energy balls, I was blown away. The power trip felt incredible. What are some of your wow moments in video games that blew you away when you first played them? And before we answer that, check out No Clip's Half-Life 2 documentary, which is incredible. And show Danny and the crew some love there.
Gosh, that Half-Life 2 moment is a big one for me. I love Half-Life 2 and that whole final act there. Just it having that player restriction and having it make sense of the game and learning to be okay with it and then removing it at the last moment and just letting you be a powerhouse was so incredible. Gosh, two other ones. I love train levels, and Gears of War 1's final level was on a train. And it was just really cool seeing all this stuff zoom by. I remember playing that game with my brother, and I literally did do a wow, like just seeing how cool it looked. And then a few years later, we had Uncharted 2 do the train level, and that was a different level because it wasn't just going down this straight track. It was bending around landscapes. It was impacting the way you had to like shoot people with a sniper rifle, and it was just this amazing, incredible looking set piece. So I guess I'll say wow if you put a train in your game.
Yeah. Sure. I feel like speaking of Gears of War, I remember being wowed the first time I used a Hammer of Dawn. That was pretty awesome.
Yeah, it's a very cool thing.
Cool.
Yeah. I think I played the demo for the GameCube Rogue Squadron, Rogue Leader or whatever it was.
Rogue Leader.
So many times because it's like I think I read that they just got access to ILM's assets and they just put the movie assets in the game. And it's like this thing just looks so incredible. And I played it over and over and over, and that blew me away. And then another kind of launch game, Wave Race is one I always think of. Like when the waves moved in the way that I thought was like this feels right. It feels truthful, and like as you catch the wave with your with the thing you're on, what's it called? A jet ski,
runner,
jet ski. And when you feel like the wave pushing you forward, like you actually caught it, but also causes you to lose a little bit of control and trying to like navigate through that and use the waves to your advantage. I remember that feeling like really sticking with me, which is why I always go back to that game.
I think God of War 2 has a bunch of like sequences that are really impressive. I think there's one where you're like running along the chain, which I remember being like, what the fuck?
Especially on the PS2,
Yeah. And I think like playing all of Metal Gear Solid 2 was unreal for me.
Okay. For me, so being a little bit younger, I did play some PS1 and 64 as a kid too. Like my formative gaming years were starting with like the early PS2, GameCube, and everything. So once we got to that point, I mean, games have been, we mentioned earlier in the show, kind of natural evolutions of the PS2 era up to this point. So the wow factor is kind of gone. But one thing that did really strike me, one of the reasons that my favorite game is my favorite game is that playing Mega Man Legends on a CRT back in, like 99 or whatever, 2000, that just looked like an anime on that TV. And I was like blown away that I was like controlling a cartoon as I thought it back then. Like, well, games aren't supposed to look like this. Games are like either, weirdo pixel art stuff, or it's like Mario with his 20 polygons or something. It's not supposed to look like I'm controlling like my Saturday morning cartoons or whatever. But it was a very smart art style that did make me go, wow. But yeah, because of not having the advantage of seeing a lot of the graphical stuff, I do think of just cool moments where you think about, oh, they put a bit of a twist here that I wasn't expecting. Like in RPGs, I like a lot when they do that, where I won't say what it is because Reload just came out this year, but at the end of Persona 3, what happens there the fact that you know what's going to happen and they kind of make you do it. They give you the agency to like see that through. It was really cool. And also at the end of Pokemon Gold and Silver as a kid, that was really cool, where the ultimate thing you see at the end of Gold and Silver is red. Like you see yourself from the previous game
cool.
at the
that was cool,
top of Mount Silver. It's like, oh shoot, that's me. I know that guy. Like that was a really cool moment too. I love when games sort of like twist your expectations a little bit like that.
Yep.
Yeah. Our next email is a soup recipe, which I'm just going to thank Alex for, but I won't be reading out in totality unless people really want it. All right, I can read through it real quickly.
I want to hear a soup recipe. Yeah.
Soup recipe: 5 large tomatoes, 1 red onion, 2 large carrots, 3 cloves of garlic, 1 liter stock, Mexican spice mix, tomato paste, and assorted beans. Chop the vegetables small enough to fit in your air fryer. Leave the garlic whole. Coat them in olive oil, salt, pepper. Roast for 20 minutes at 200 degrees Celsius. Blend roast vegetables with 1 liter of chicken/veg stock. Add a good squeeze of tomato paste. Heat and add the beans of choice. Love you, Alex.
Thanks, Alex.
Thank you for that. That was
sounds nice.
Yeah, I'll do that. Shit, why not?
Soup season.
Next one comes.
Jan pick the email.
Yeah, I was going to say. Yeah. Next one comes from Chase in Los Angeles, who says, "Hey, you sexy gamers! I just got back from a 2-week trip to Japan with my wife. Prior to going, we downloaded."
Were you pausing for us there?
I paused for that. Yeah.
Okay, sorry.
I almost missed it. My bad.
Prior to going, we downloaded Duolingo to learn some Japanese in anticipation for the trip, because we always like to make things as easy as possible for the people serving us or when asking for directions. And also, I just never want to be that tourist who shows up and expects the other country to adapt to their needs. My dude, use a comma. I was met with all kinds of reactions in Japan, from absolute shock, people being so tickled to hear "totemo kawaii desu" when referring to their dog, to one person profusely thanking us for having taken the time to learn Japanese.
Kawaii means cute. Kawaii means cute, so at least I know that word.
Yep. Yeah. My question for you is, do you try to learn a few simple phrases or words when you are traveling to a non-English speaking country? Or do you just roll the dice and hope enough people will know English / you can charades your way through most situations? Dan, I already know your answer, so you can set this one out.
Yeah, sit out, Dan. You're not
set this one out.
We read this email. That's why we told him he couldn't be on this episode.
That's right.
Thanks, guys. Love what you do, and I swear I'm not sending this email to Nextlander too. Hashtag never be double dipping. Thank you.
Chase is a real one.
Yeah.
I try and it never works. I would probably like brush up on some of the Duolingo stuff we did in Japanese when we were doing that a few weeks ago. I haven't done that in a while, but I would be able to brush up on that, like the basics, pretty quick. And maybe I would give it an effort. I would learn, please, thank you. Like, yeah, that stuff's real easy. And then I would probably be like, where's the bathroom? And I would be set. So, yeah.
Yeah, I feel like Japan is one of those places where if you make the effort to earn a little bit, the feedback loop on it is incredible.
Exactly.
Like, they are like, oh my God, that is awesome.
Anytime like a white guy speaks Japanese, don't they just put him on TV automatically? At least that's my understanding.
Yeah. They just I studied Japanese for like 4 years to learn how to speak it well. And so like when I went there and spoke it to people, they were just like frozen in the moment. They're like, oh my God, because it's not even a white dude, it's like a brown dude. So they're like, holy shit, this Mexican guy is amazing at speaking Japanese. I'm just like, okay, yeah. But yeah, it's one of those places where, so the reason why I love speaking in Japanese is because they all go out of their way, one, to like acknowledge you, and if you try and make mistakes, they understand it and will help, stuff like that. So I remember being in Japan and me and Mike Mahadi were in a like the hotel bar at the top of our hotel where we were staying, and we just had like got together to just hang out and get a couple of drinks and just chat for a little bit. And I remember asking for the check at the end, and the waiter looked at me like, what the fuck? Like, he was like, I was saying the words and he was like, what is this guy saying? And like, he eventually, like, he figured it out. He realized what we took paid stuff. And then he came back and he was like, hey man, I just noticed that when you asked for the check, the wording was wrong. Do you want me to explain what was wrong about it? I was like, absolutely, yeah. So he sat down and like wrote it down. I was like, so what you said was this, which is correct word, but it's used in this part of Japan more than here, and like explain. So if this is like Kansai, for example, so the one you want to use in Tokyo is this one, or if you go outside of Tokyo, Osaka, this is what you want to use. And I was like, that was incredible.
Yeah,
like this man just like helped me understand.
That's the way to learn, right? It's just go there and that, like when you say something, you have someone there ready to correct you immediately.
Yeah. And it was so good.
I've never been, but I've heard both from people who are fluent in Japanese and people who don't know a word of it, that Japan in particular is like a place you could go if you're not super familiar with the language, both because they do learn English over there. So there's a decent amount of English scattered throughout, but also Google Translate has gotten good enough to point there where, just pull up Google Lens and you can just real-time translate signs and stuff. And if you're doing touristy sort of stuff, that's how you don't need necessarily a real-time translation of voice or stuff, so you can get around like that and get to where you need to go, where people might be more accommodating to you, which is nice, I guess.
And also like I found that a lot of people there were eager to practice their English, so they would ask they would ask if they can speak English to me. Especially like cab drivers, when I got into like taxis and stuff and I would speak in Japanese, they'll be like, oh, what language do you normally speak? And if I said English, they'll be like, oh, can I speak English to you? Because my English I'm learning or it's not great. Can you help me? So there's like a wild like kind of language exchange thing that happens when you can speak okay Japanese with them, which is really, really cool. I really love that part of like language and immersing yourself in that language. And Japanese is just a language I'm obsessed with anyway. Beyond just like picking it up from anime, it's just like I feel like it's enjoyable to speak and it has like a flow to it that I really love. But yeah, it's one of those places where you can go and people will you'll get by fine. Everything is like translated, and even signs and stuff, they have it in Japanese, they have like hiragana, katakana, and then also in English. So you're good.
Small aside, but that just reminded me of when I was at Evo this year and I talked to Matsumoto-san a little bit from Capcom, and just cultural exchanges can be fun because I was getting ready to talk to him through a translator, and he looked at my shirt, and it was the Combo Breaker shirt I have, where it's Banksy, but it's Kimberly throwing a spray paint can.
Right.
I was like, oh, Kimberly, that shirt's awesome. And there's having that moment there of like, oh yeah, you probably haven't seen much of this. Like, I know you were at Combo Breaker, but it's got your character on it. Isn't that cool? And like having those little moments can be really fun. It's like internationally we're sharing stuff like that.
But yeah, next email comes from Chris, who says, hey Bombcast, long time listener, first time emailer. I have 3 kids, 2 daughters, 4 and 6, and 1 son, 4. They're still little, and I've slowly started introducing them to more and more games as their abilities improve. Recently, we've been getting through Bug Snacks, and they've absolutely ate it up. They're always talking about the mystery of what happened to Eggabell and Lisbeth to anyone that will listen. For the most part, it's been the eldest daughter playing the game, and she struggles with confrontation in the game because she doesn't want to hurt anyone's feelings. That's adorable. Because of that, I usually have to handle the conversational part of it, and we're good to go. But what I've come to realize is that the ending to this game is a bit intense in terms of the body horror of what happened to Lisbeth after disappearing and eating too many of the snacks. My question is, how can I get through this ending, considering how sensitive my daughter is towards just talking to NPCs, without scarring her too much? And what other games do you recommend for kids of this age? Thanks for everything you do. And as someone who has been listening since the hotspot days, you guys are always a shining light in the world of gaming. So keep it up and keep it going. Sincerely, Chris.
I'm sorry, I just love that as you said, shining light in gaming. Mike got the God rays coming down.
Awesome. That's me. I'm the shining light in gaming.
That's what we say about you
right now. Oh,
I think it's probably Grub, you're probably best positioned to answer this.
Yeah, I mean, there's no... I mean, yeah, the kids are going to be sensitive and you're probably going to scar them, but they're also usually surprisingly better at handling things than you realize. But you maybe have to break through that seal a little bit. I mean, there's no harm in like I think someone, I think it was Lexi in chat, so just make up your own ending, things like that, where let them play in the round in the space and decide like what the end of the story was yourself. That's completely fair.
What in Friends Phoebe's mom did with Old Yeller, just like, oh yeah, turn the movie off 10 minutes early, nothing bad happens.
Yeah, I mean, to a certain extent, yeah, why not?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, I also, I don't know, maybe I'm being idealistic, but as someone who has like younger family members that has considered this stuff, I think like give them the option is a way to approach it as well. Like you can sit down with her and be like, hey, I know you've been really loving this game. We're reaching the end of the game. There's going to be an ending. The ending is a little bit intense. I know you don't like some of the confrontational parts of it. There might be some element of that, and it could be quite scary. Do you want to play that? Do you want to watch it instead? Or do you want to just, make up your own ending so you don't have to experience it? I think if you put the choice into their hands and let them control the circumstances, that helps in, even if they go into it being like, hey, I want to do this, it empowers them to know that, hey, I asked to be in this situation, so I should deal with it as best as I can. And also it means that they're aware of the fact that since you gave them the option to go in, you also have given them the option to leave it. So if they suddenly decide, I don't like this, they won't feel afraid of being like, hey, I don't like this. Can we actually dip out?
Yep. And that would work. I think they said 4 and 6 on the 6 side of things, that all that stuff would work. 4 is like, so that like they are not capable of understanding the consequences of any action, let alone their choices. So you definitely still want to put the choice in their hands to teach them that is something that they have power over. But you're probably going to end up in a situation where they're still going to get mad at you if they see something they didn't want to see and they think that you had some responsibility in that. Now, so what? To a certain extent, they're going to see stuff like that all the time. And my kids watch sad movies or experience things in games that sometimes that they find upsetting, and they bounce back quick because they're kids, and that's what they're meant to do. They're meant to bounce back quick. So yeah.
Also, I don't ascribe by the thing where it's like, hey, everything sucks, so we might as well get them used to it now. It's like, yeah, man, that's true. Like, why should, when we have the situation, when we have the ability to control how they or help them navigate this stuff that could potentially suck in a healthy way, you should take that opportunity, because they often won't have that in the outer world, in the rest of life. They'll just have that stuff thrust upon them. So having a situation where you can train them to deal with this stuff and negotiate it mentally in a practice way, like let them have that as well. Like I think that will be helpful for them.
I think that's right. Other good games, Piku Niku is one that my kids constantly go back to. Breath of the Wild and Tears of the Kingdom, surprisingly, they love that. They just love going around and doing stuff in those worlds and deciding like what their own adventures are going to be. They very rarely interact with the main game. They just go in the world and decide, today I am going to collect 80 horses and I'm going to name them all.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, so that's worked really well. And then a lot of the normal stuff, Mario, Sonic, all that stuff is also very good.
Kids like Minecraft.
Kids like Minecraft, yes.
Word on the street, yeah.
I've heard that said before.
Yeah, I mean, like, it also kind of depends on what kind of games they want, because Steam is full of like low drama, easy fun.
You can find a cat simulator made by like one dude in Unity.
Yeah, I've been playing Walmart Works It Out, which is just like a game about putting puzzles together, and it's been really enjoyable, and it has like a cute little story. That kind of thing is really easy to find. But if it's a case of like you want a little more, something similar to Bug Snacks, that's tricky to find. But I feel like going back is easier to find that stuff, like a Banjo-Kazooie, that kind of thing. Pretty easy to find more palatable collectathon style games for them to cut their teeth on. And
they just like to do stuff, like they like to affect the world. So a game like Donut County, right, where it's like I'm moving this hole around and it's getting bigger and things get swallowed up in it. Stuff like that really works. But then there's like a million of clones of that where it's like holes.io, where you just go on there, play online to try to make the bigger and bigger hole, and they love that stuff too, and that stuff's free and right there.
My nephew who's like 6, just recently discovered a Goat Simulator. That's been a big hit.
Yep, those
based on the description of what she likes, I'm willing to bet she probably will enjoy something like Animal Crossing, or just like interacting with characters. No real kind of like world-ending stakes on in there, just speaking and having fun and creating your own stories. So I bet that would be something they would enjoy.
Grub, did you say holes.io?
Yeah, is that not what it is?
Well, I went there and it told me to turn off my ad blocker, which I obliged. And when I did, it just served me an ad for plumbing repairs. I think that might not be it.
It could be hole.io. I got to be honest. They all look the same to me at a certain point. And it's all just a mush. Yeah.
Just like Disney.
Yeah, there's definitely... And honestly, it's an app that they play on the Amazon Fire tablet. So I'm like, are they just naming it after those .io games that are like everywhere? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah. Next question. Next email comes from DW from Seattle. Just says, motherfuckers, play Myst. Play all of them. Yeah. They're great. They're challenging and required to pay attention and make notes, but they're better than pretty much any puzzle game that came out since. That's fair.
I've been hearing very good things about that Riven remake that came out this year. Seems like it's kind of like the sleeper hit of the year, maybe. I keep threatening it. At some point, I'm going to do a Myst series playthrough. I'd like to do it.
That was one of the initial things we were thinking of doing instead of Deshaun was Monday mornings Myst with Mitch.
Right, but we can only do it on Mondays, right? So it just was never going to be as good an option as Deshaun.
That's true. Much more efficient. Yeah.
And that brings... Go on.
I was going to say, I got to be honest, I just started playing hole.io. I'm doing it right now. There we go. My name is Player, and I'm pink if anyone wants to get in there. I just swallowed up a policewoman. She just fell in. Okay.
While Grub is playing hole.io, I will take this podcast home.
Oh my God, a giant Johnny Depp hole just is going to swallow me. What is happening? What is this game?
This is unbelievable. Before we start wrapping up, we want to give a shout out to our good friend of the show, Imran Khan.
Love you, Imran.
Imran, hoping you're doing well and on the mend. Look forward to hopefully chatting to you again soon. But beyond that, thank you, everyone, for listening to the show. What have we got going for the rest of the week? It's a shorter week.
Yeah, it's American Thanksgiving this week, everybody. So
I don't think we don't have anything planned for tomorrow, right?
We're doing Dump Truck tomorrow. I think.
We're going to do Dump Truck tomorrow.
I think we're doing Dump Truck tomorrow.
GM having Dump Truck tomorrow to close out the week, and then we have off Thursday and Friday.
Yep. So we'll be back next week for another full week. So enjoy your weeks, everyone. Take it easy, rest up, eat loads of food or whatever goes on. Grub, thank you for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Mitch, you too. Thank you for joining us once again.
Yeah, it's always good hanging out with you, Tim.
And Turbo Sean. Thank you.
Always a fun
joining
time.
us too.
Absolutely.
We will see you again next week. Until then, keep gaming.